I'm just going to call it to order. Rob, you want to make some comments?
Yeah, just for everybody that's on the call right now on the meeting, I just wanted to let everybody know that this meeting is audio and video recorded. Um, there's a chat function if you look on the bottom of your screen for those who are have visual access. You'll see a chat button in one of those little circles at the bottom. It's like a little balloon. If you press that, you could open up the chat box and you could ask questions in that box area. And when we get to public hearings, I can actually read those questions, if there are any, into the record and get some answers with those. Also, for anybody who may not be looking at this with a visual ability, you can actually go on the town website at www.southington.org and click on departments on the very top under the drop-down menu. And you will then see a list of departments. And if you go all the way near close to the bottom, you'll see planning. And if you click on that link, it'll bring you to the main planning page, and you'll see that the meeting for July 16th is highlighted right there for you at the top. And if you click on that, you can get in and access all of the meeting documents that are going to be up for discussion tonight, and also view the agenda as we move along. The other way to contact or to ask questions, I will unmute those who called in when we get to that stage of each public hearing for any potential questions. You can also email me, which is, I'm getting a little feedback here. Oh, I got someone I got to mute. Okay. So you can also email me as well, which is all you can find on the department webpage, and send me an email if that works better for you, and I'll read that question in as well too when we get there. If everybody can make sure that they're muted at all times, that way we cut down on any background noise or any disturbances, because it's being recorded, so it's very important. With that, we should be able to maintain a fairly smooth meeting here. So I think that covers everything at this point in time. If there's any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Vernon Hammersley.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Can you call the roll, please?
Sure. Commissioner Bork. And again, just a reminder, when I call your name, unmute yourself and state your name and your title, Commissioner, and then go back to mute. So I'll start again. Jeff Bork.
Commissioner Bork here.
Commissioner Locks.
Commissioner Locks here.
Commissioner Macchio.
Commissioner Macchio here.
Commissioner Volpe.
Commissioner Volpe here.
Alternate Albanese.
Albanese here.
Alternate Coles.
Alternate Coles here.
Alternate Coviello.
Alternate Coviello here.
Alternate Savlacool. Secretary Santiago.
Santiago here.
Chairman Sutton.
Commissioner Selka here.
And Chairman Hammersley.
Hammersley here. Okay, so we have a quorum. If we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I see Rob's got a flag back there, so he's doing a good job again. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. Just take a moment, reflection, please. Thank you, everybody. I hear the horns going up in my background right now, so the parade must be going by. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting on May 19th, 2020?
Commissioner Selka, approve the minutes of the meeting.
Commissioner Macchio, second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Let's get into item 7A, Lovely Development, petition to enact the zoning regulations amendment of text, section 3- 3.09.3A and modify section 3.09.6 age restricted cluster housing zone regulation or regulations, zone amendment number 604. Sev, I don't know if you or Mark is going to do this, but I'm guessing it's probably you.
Hold on, I gotta find Sev again. Where is he?
There you go.
Okay,
Ready?
sure, go
Yeah,
ahead.
take it away.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, our commission members. My name is Sev Bovino, planner with Craftsman Jones and Associates, representing Lovely Development. The ARCHZ zone, it's an age-restricted cluster housing zone, is now currently allowed under Section 3-09 of regulations. This is what's called a floating zone, eligible to be designated on the zoning map over existing R40, R2025, and R12 zones. Parcels of 5 acres or more of property. As you know, this zone addresses the housing needs of the aging population, provides housing choices for existing residents so they don't have to move, offers more housing choices for moderate income seniors. This zone was approved for a site located on South End Road not too long ago and has been very successful. The current requirement is that the property eligible for this shall be served by public water and public sewers. In an effort to allow more flexibility in land development, the proposal is to amend the text to add section 3-09.3A under permitted uses, which would allow properties of 20 acres or more to be developed if they have public water and septic system for single-family residences, 30% of which could be attached duplexes. And also, we modified section 3-09.6C to reflect that change. The allowed density in this case, though, would be 3.5 units per acres maximum versus the current allowed 5 units per acre. As you know, the applicant will have to go through multiple stages of the application process. There will be a preliminary layout and zone change requiring a public hearing per section 8, a special permit and final site plan requiring public hearing again, notification per section 8. During those applications, landscaping, drainage, lighting, buffers, proper layout, architectural plans, and green space will have to be addressed to the commission's satisfaction. If you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer.
Thanks, Sev. So I'll open it up to commission members to ask questions. I'm just going to go through a list of people and call on them if they have any questions, and we'll start with Commissioner Quark. Any questions, Jeff?
Right now, I do not have any. This is Commissioner Gork, by the way. I do not have any questions.
Okay. Commissioner Locks, any questions, Sue?
At this time, I don't have any questions also.
Commissioner Volpe.
This is Commissioner Volpe. I would like to hear some of the opinions of my fellow commissioners before commenting. I do have some speculation about how specific the First Amendment in 3-09.3A is, and would like to hear more regarding that specific request.
Okay. Commissioner Macchio.
This is Commissioner Macchio. The only question I have is there some specific areas right now that are in mind because of this change, or why they'd like to do this here for the change, or is just for? Okay, that's the only question I have.
You want me to answer the question?
Certainly.
Sure, Sev. Yeah.
Yeah, there are parcels that we are looking at. Yes.
So to your end, Jim, I know that Commissioner Santago asked a question of Rob on the number of properties that could potentially be affected by this. And Rob did some research on that. You want to share that with us, Rob?
Yeah, sure. So I had, with the assistance of the engineering department, Dominic over there, many thanks to them. They quickly produced a table showing so as of right now, the age-restricted cluster housing floating zone can only land in R12, R2025, and R40 residential zones. So I asked for a quick analysis or a listing of properties that met the criteria that would be subject to this zone text amendment, which would be residential properties in residential zones, those 3 residential zones that are at least 20 acres or more, and are essentially, we produced that list, and then from there I pared it down to properties that either are vacant or close to vacant or have a use that potentially could be easily converted to another use. And that list came out to be about 12 properties. And I will just as a disclaimer, we didn't do any further analysis, which would to analyze the wetlands coverage, steep slopes, or inadequate soils for septic systems. That's certainly a consideration. We didn't look at lot geometry. In some cases, it may be difficult to from a frontage standpoint, or just an interesting geometric lot that just makes it more difficult to try to develop, given other constraints that I had mentioned just a minute ago. So we didn't look into that. So it's a very back of the envelope, so to speak, analysis of just properties greater than 20 that are residentially zoned that would be subject to this proposed amendment. And of course, if public sewer is available to these parcels, then they could potentially do this, or they could potentially develop under this regulation on the books as it is right now without this change to the text. So, having said that, we're looking at about 12 properties throughout town that potentially could be consideration with this change.
Commissioner Vecchio.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. I appreciate it, because my only concern was like, look, if there's only 1 property or 2 properties that we're looking at, like a spot zone. But as long as there's multiples, at least it's something I'm encouraged about looking into. Thanks.
You all set, Jim?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Santago.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I want to thank you for the research, Rob, because when I read this, I was wondering, well, where would we do this? And so thank you for that. I guess I did have the spot zone thing, same thing as what Commissioner Macchio said, but now that I hear there's 12 properties, it gives me almost more pause, because now I'm like, do we want this all over town if this is indeed eligible? Because now it's opening up more development, I suppose, when there might not have been there in the first place. And so, I always question, am I doing a text amendment? Am I doing a regulation change because it's good or because it's opportunistic to fit a particular circumstance? So that's always my first thing when I see language changes. So I guess the changes here, Sev, that you're proposing, one is obviously to give instead of sewer if you have septic, right? So that's one big change, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I get that. So the other change, are we increasing density with this?
No, we are reducing density from 5 per acre to 3.5 per acre. That was the idea. To be able to have a SEP system, we feel we need more space. And as usually, we are conservative in these approaches. No, it's a 3.5 unit per acre versus 5 currently. Also, I would like to address, since I'm allowed to speak right now, the number of parcels that we have found purely based on this text change proposal, which means you don't have sewers, you have septic It's probably like 4 or 5 parcels.
Okay.
The 12 parcels that Rob is talking about, I believe he stated that includes those parcels that currently could be developed under current regulations with the source. So this text really deals with probably 4 or 5 parcels.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for clarification. And so really what you're saying here, so the big difference here, it sounds like, is include septic. And if you include septic, density goes down because you need more space to accommodate the septic. Is that fair?
Correctly.
So that's your big change.
Yeah, that's the big change.
In layman's terms.
And also it creates more of an open space area because of that additional acreage. And less unit on the same number of acres.
So talk a little bit about that. So I think it's an important point because you guys are always very good, or you were very good at South End Road on having the open space as part of what you did, contiguous to other open space. So how would this give us more open space?
This will be exactly the same requirement as the other, even if the other is denser, 5 unit per acre, and it requires 20% open space, green space. This one remains the same, 20% green space. The requirement.
Okay, so all right.
So we're not cutting on the open space area.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. No more questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Peter. And great question. Thanks for asking Rob to do that research for us, because I think that it's important. Commissioner Coviello.
Yeah, I think Peter unpacked that pretty well. But Seb, just one for you: is the mix of single family and attached duplex part of this change as well, or is that language consistent with the original regulation? I think it was just single family, right?
Yeah, the other one was just it is just single. This allows more flexibility because you want to work with the land and try to fit things. If you join 2 of those single units into one, it gives you more space to put them in.
Okay, fair enough.
Site them, to do a proper siting.
Okay, Jim, thanks. Commissioner Coles.
Hi, Commissioner Coles here. So the use of the septic systems would now permit you to build in locations where, and if we're using your numbers of 4 as you whittled them down from Rob's numbers, those areas wouldn't be able to be developed in the first place.
No, they will be able to be developed under regular regulation. You could do the development.
Right.
They're undeveloped.
But the fact of the matter is, you'd also have to run sanitary lines to those properties. And so with the flexibility that you have of being able to utilize the septic system there, you're going to expand the likelihood of all those parcels being developed. And it's not really a question; it's more of an observation that
that's the intent. To allow it with the septic system allows us to do a development like this, age restricted, in an area which otherwise could not be done unless you extended the sewers. You're correct.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You all set, Caleb?
Yes, sir.
And I think it's important to note there too that it is subject to the state health and deep approval process as well. Right. But I think that's a relevant point that you just raised. So, Commissioner Albanese.
Commissioner Albanese, I just have a few questions. Just to continue on with the septic assessment, assuming that with these potential 4 properties, there'd be a feasibility assessment done on the suitability of those soils for septic at that point. If that needs to happen, I'm assuming that the engineering would take care of that. I like the idea of this being an age-restricted type of a development, which I think is kind of needed in this town, and would serve the function of taking care of some of the growing population, the elderly population in this area. The other thing is, I guess reading the regulation, the text change. So if there's sewer, if there's septic, sewer, and then would it be, it says on the text that there would need to be water. So does that include an extension of water main to this area, or the water would have to be at the street? That I'm a bit confused on that.
If you completed your questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Yes, I did, Seb. Thank you.
Yeah, the septic system, we would have to do soil testing in collaboration with the health department, and they would have to pass their, the approval would have to be granted by the health department for the septic systems, which we normally do. We do 2-3 test bits per each home, and we do 1 or 2 perk tests for each site, and so the soils get analyzed and the percolation rates get analyzed, and then they will give us an approval. Regarding the water, the public water, the way this is written, public water, existing public water, or extendable within a reasonable distance. In town, I believe if you're within 200 feet of the water line, you're supposed to extend it, that kind of thing.
Right. This just seems a little bit more, it's not specific, I think. So if there's water, half a mile away, would this still be something that we would look at as far as a viable change?
It would have to be extended, and the extension would have to be approved by the water department.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm done with my questions. Thank you.
Bob? Oh, for some reason you're muted. Did you mute on your end?
I'm all set.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Commissioner Salka, sorry. That was my fault.
It's okay. First, I want to thank Rob for the research that he did. What I'd like to, when I look at the 20 acres, I agree with a number of the comments made by the commissioners about needing more 55 and older because of the demographics of Southington. But I was wondering what is the magic number 20? Where did that come from, and why wouldn't it be if 20 acres or more identifies 4 or 5 properties that Seb was talking about? What's magic about the 20 acres versus, say, 30 acres? I mean, I would rather see fewer parcels being available for this type of change. And I'm wondering what's sacrosanct about the 20 number versus, say, 30. How did they come up with 20?
We just looked at parcels that could be developed, and they are in the 30 acre range. So that's what we did. It is the current requirement the commissioner would have to approve these sites. So if we come forward with a site and you see that's something that doesn't fit your criteria, you have the ability to deny the request for overlaid zone on the property. But we picked the 20 acres because we didn't want to do 5 acres because there's a lot more 5 acres throughout the town than the 20 acres. And the 5 acres more likely will have public sewers.
Now, I agree with the 5 acres, Seb, and I'm just wondering, I would like to, at least the commission to consider increasing that 20 acres to 30 acres. I'd rather see fewer areas with this type of development, even though, they're age restricted. But I'd like the commission to consider the possibility of changing that from 20 acres to 30 acres. That would basically perhaps limit it to 4 or fewer parcels than the 20 acres would. And I know we're probably talking about the Lincoln College property, and that's about 33 acres or 32 something acres. So that would fall within that 30 acre suggestion that I'm making. That was just a general comment for the commission.
Thanks, Bob. Seb, what would be your reaction to increasing that to 30 acres?
It's the commission's call. If you go to stay at 20, it gives us more flexibility to develop different parcels. If you go to 30, obviously it restricts the number of parcels. It's your call.
Okay, so if we were to increase it to a 30-acre requirement, how would that, if at all, how would that affect the 30% for duplex units and the 3.5 units per acre requirement there? Would that be affected at all, or?
The 30% of the units could be attached units, so that remains the same. That doesn't affect that. It's 30% of the units.
Okay. And the 3.5 units per acre, does that need to be adjusted if we went to 30 acres, or?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Lovely.
Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. Mark Lovely, President of Lovely Development, office at 710 Main Street, Plansville. We would not have a problem if you wanted to go to the 30 acres. That's not a problem at all.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. I want to circle back to Commissioner Volpe because I think that she said she wanted to hear what other people were saying. I want to give her an opportunity if she has any questions to do that. So, Christina, if you have anything.
Thank you, Chair Hammersley. Excuse me. Needed to be brought to our attention. It does feel a bit like this is catering a bit to the client in this example, or the developer in this instance, knowing that there's so many limited parcels. In this case, seems that we would be touching upon something that would cater to just this specific reason when, as Rob pointed out earlier, there are already things in place for that. I do agree, and I think it was a wonderful recommendation to increase the parcel size to 30, but then I do question what that would look like. And again, in our plan of conservation and development, I do agree that, age housing is important in our community. However, some of the concerns over our large parcel sizes concern me as well. So I just want to ensure that we're not just doing something that's so specific in this instance. So all of that information was appreciated. And I don't have any further questions at this time, but did want to comment.
Okay. Thanks, Commissioner
Thank
Volpe. With that, let's open it up to the public. So we'll ask anybody who would like to provide testimony in favor of this application, the zone text amendment, to give us a piece of your mind.
Yeah, so this is in favor, and let's allow a minute or so, or whatever it takes, to allow people to unmute themselves, state their name and their address, and offer comments. And then if we don't hear anything before we close the portion that's in favor, I will then unmute the call, well, probably everybody, or at least the call-in users, so they have an opportunity, because they can't really prompt us without me unmuting them.
See anybody, Rob?
No one yet. There are a couple of questions that came in at some point in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think we'll get to those in a little bit. Let's see if we have anybody who. So I'm guessing we don't have anybody to testify in favor. Is there anybody in opposition to this zone text amendment proposal who'd like to let us?
Let me just
Okay.
unmute the call-in users. That way we can make sure we. I think there were only 3 folks that I called in that I see here. So again, if anybody has trouble, just email me while this public hearing is open, and I will communicate that over. But if any call-in users have any comments in favor? Doesn't look like it. Okay, Chairman, go ahead.
Yeah, so if we have anybody who would like to testify in opposition to this proposed text amendment, this is your opportunity to do that.
I would. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
This is Val Guarino, 1432 East Street. I did send in a statement because I wasn't sure I'd make the meeting, but I could read this now. So at the February 5th, 2019 meeting, the commission approved the Arch-Z zoning amendment proposed by Mr. Lovely, which in effect allowed more and higher density development in areas where current zoning prohibited it. This change has the potential to result in approximately 500 more houses being built in neighborhoods originally zoned for fewer houses. That was brought up at that meeting. The initial result was the building of 15 homes on South End Road where original zoning only allowed for 6. Now Mr. Lovely returns to the well to amend his amendment to make it even easier to overdevelop. This new request appears to allow up to 70 houses on a 20-acre lot. Mr. Lovely must have a property in mind that fits this proposal so that if the commission approves this application, they expect to see an application to build citing this section of the regulations in the near future. Now, I'm sure that a large majority of the residents believe there's been too much development in Southington already. Approving this change would only reinforce this concern and foster the perception that the commission is not concerned with overdevelopment. This proposal will not benefit the town, but will only benefit the people proposing it. I respectfully ask that the commission deny this request as not being in the best interests of Southington. Thank you.
Thanks, Val. Any questions of Val from the commission members? If you could just raise your hand or somehow let us know if you have any questions. I don't see any. Thanks, Val, for your testimony. Appreciate your sharing your thoughts and perspective with us.
Thank you for hearing.
Yeah, whenever, Val, always. Anyone else out there to testify in opposition to this proposed zone text amendment? Rob, you want to unmute the call-ins just to see if there's anyone there?
Absolutely. Unmuting right now. 3 call-in users. You are unmuted if you have any comments in opposition.
Yes, I have a comment. Can you hear me?
Sure.
If you could just state your name and address just so we have it for the record, please.
Absolutely. My name is Dawn McNerney. I live at 87 Mountain Pond Road in Southington. I'm a resident of Southington who has lived here most of my 50-plus years. My name carries no weight in this town. I'm not a politician. I'm not a prominent doctor, lawyer, or developer in the town. I am what one would say a nobody, a daughter of an Italian immigrant whose father worked in a factory, a mother of an equivalent of a grade school education who worked as a waitress to help put food on our table. Pretty much a nobody. However, this nobody has a thinking brain and carries a voice of logic and reason. A nobody who votes and whose voice should be heard above any voice of a corporation. A nobody who cares about the town with which she grew up and has been watching it morph from a small bedroom community to that of city proportions. Some call this progress, but if you're in tune with the conversations amongst many of the residents, they would disagree. The destruction of our wetlands and open space is not progress. The increased air and noise pollution due to large volumes of traffic and deforestation of our trees is not progress. Over the years, the town has had its share of contamination. 2 of these areas are and were part of the nation's worst and placed on the Superfund National Priorities List. There are other severely contaminated areas in our town as well, all which contribute to the issues of groundwater, wildlife, and development. I could go on more about our rivers and the PFAS and contaminations and how many residents are completely unaware of these issues, but it is not my point here. I'm here to urge the commissioners of the Planning and Zoning Committee, that the somebodies of our town, to think hard about the proposed text change and how that can have a negative impact on Southington. I read through the 35 pages of the residential zoning regulations, section 3, as well as a few other sections such as the floodplain and special permit use, all of which read as interesting as the IRS tax code and can be considered a cure for insomnia. All kidding aside, this thinking voter wants to voice that the proposed text change being presented may look like a minor, but has a major impact to our town. While the text change is currently being isolated to section 3.09, age-restricted cluster housing, it opens the door for a text change for any other type of cluster housing that is not age-restricted. This is the kind of under the radar change propositions that have serious impact on the betterment of our town, its natural and municipal resources, our environment, and the open space that many have been trying to desperately maintain. I also find the timing of this request extremely curious, as the Briarwood LLC property attempts to change its zoning on their property and is considering to change the wording of their application to include active adult cluster housing, as Mr. Tilwiger indicated in the April zoning meeting of this year. Current zoning of R80, which is us and many remaining small tracts of land, and R40, Briarwood and other smaller tracts of land, under 3.01 allows for single-family dwellings and farming. Special permit usages are allowed after public hearing and approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. R2025 under section 3.02 allows for the same above, the family dwellings and farming, but expanded special permit usage, which includes municipal housing for elderly. R12L, R12, as well as R12 under section 3.03 and 3.04 allows for everything under R20 and R25, but expanded special permit, including multifamily dwellings attached and single, which require public and public sewer. So again, those are R12 and R12L that require public sewer, not R40. 3.04-3 is a special exemptions, which allow the Planning and Zoning Committee to allow for any existing building in R20 and 25 zones to be converted to two-family housing. 3.07 open space allows for special usage of R20 and 25, R40 and R80 residential zoning for park and recreation and community renewable energy systems. Section 3.09 is the age-restricted cluster housing zone, referred to as the floating zone, eligible for R40, R20 and 25, and R12 zones, only after approval. The main change that's being made under ZA number 64 regulation amendment application is the ability to allow cluster housing to be built in areas that have septic wastewater systems, no public sewer systems. While I recognize advancements of septic systems over the years, I would be remiss to say that I am not concerned with septic wastewater systems for cluster housing. The EPA website itself identifies septics as, and I quote, systems that are used to treat and dispose of relatively small volumes of wastewater. Cluster housing, as proposed, with a site density of 3.5 units per acre, would logically produce a much more waste per acre of land than that of a single household on 1+ acres of land, which is typically in our rural areas of our town. Mr. Lovely is one of many prominent builders in our town who have made and continue to make a lot of money on the building and selling of properties. In a 2017 article in the Record Journal, he has been cited that his more than recent 94-lot endeavor at Northridge Estates and D'Onofrio's 72-lot development on Loper Street, what I used to call Kmart Hill, and where I used to go sledding, may be the last developments of their scale in Southington. Understand here what is being said by our own developers. There are no more large tracts of land to develop and make gobs of money. Yes, there are large vast lanes off of West Street. However, as also said by Mr. Lovely, power lines limit how many homes can fit on the parcels. Leaders and members of the community, this should be a warning bell. Better yet, let's say a warning siren. I don't need to be a developer to know that in order to keep generating profits, the smaller tracts of land must contain more homes. And it is more profitable for the developers to cram in cluster housing, duplexes, condos, and apartments on these smaller tracts of land than to build and sell single-family dwellings, which in many of these septic areas are zoned for 1+ acre lots. Why sell one house for only $250,000 or $500,000 when you can sell multiple, 3.5 in this case, for over $230,000, which is the going rate of the newest Lovely development of Eden and Maine? Basic Business 101 will tell you that the overall costs are lower in cluster housing and that volume selling will generate them large profits. If there are only small tracts of land remaining in our town, I ask you, shouldn't the town be working to preserve these open spaces for the betterment of the existing community, environment, and wildlife versus laying down condos and parking lots? If there are only small tracts of land remaining, Shouldn't we be concerned that the development of condos would strain our municipalities, such as our fire, police, water, schools, roads, parks, etc.? There are reasons why septics are not placed in dense communities and regulations to support this. Southington is currently home to well over 700 age-restricted cluster housing units, and this does not include the beautiful Sun Community mobile sites of Three Gardens, Forest Hill, Cedar Springs, and more. This number does not include the age-restricted cluster housing on Mulberry Gardens and the Orchards. Spring Lake Village itself has over 650 units. And according to Cook's Properties website, Eden and Maine will have in 2021 41 age-restricted luxury apartments. Additional age restriction housing have also been built in the downtown area of Southington and exist in other Southington developments such as Ridgewood off of West Street, Applegate Estates behind Walmart, and Rivercrest Drive area in Milldale. I am sure I am missing more. So today, on the 16th day of June, this nobody asks the committee to deny the request of text change under ZA 604 and work towards the preservation of these smaller tracts of land in rural areas. If it starts with age cluster housing, it will be sought to be allowed for any type of cluster housing. Nearly every man can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. And the measure of man is what he does with that power. Well, you have the power here. What is your character and how do you want to be measured? Thank you.
Dawn, I appreciate your comments, and I'll just take a moment to respond a little bit. You're not a nobody. You're a resident of this town, and we invite and encourage people such as yourself to come before us and testify. To suggest and make a personal attack upon any member of this commission, I take exception with. And at points during your testimony, that seemed to be where you were going. I trust that it's not what you intended to do, and I hope that that's not what you're intending to do based on what is before us. We are all volunteers that sit up here. We're all people who run for this office to do what we think is the best for our community. And I will stand behind all of our members, regardless of how they vote and whether I agree with them or not, and say that they all did what they thought was best. And I've been on the losing end of votes before over the last 5 years that I've sat on this commission. And even with that, I stood by people doing what they thought was best. So I take exception to that particular line of commenting that you just made. With that, let me ask you this, Rob. If this was approved, any project, any proposal that came forward with regards to this zone text amendment, if it was approved, would have to come forward separately and is subject to Section 8, which is our special permitting process. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. If this text amendment was approved, the next steps would be on any particular property a application for zone change, which requires a public hearing, and also an application for a special permit and site plan. The special permit would require a public hearing. So it's a multi-step process, and in this case, essentially, this would be 3 public hearings on any particular, if this were to be approved, on any particular change to a property.
So any project that came forward as a result of this zone text amendment, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, would be subject to another review, public hearing, and approval or denial on that specific project based on what the commission found with that project.
I'm not just sticking it with you. It's more like, let's build a plan.
Yeah, no,
I don't know what that was. I think it might have been Keith Lambert came in. I just muted him. Any proposal, whether it's existing regulations on the books or if this were to be approved, would require a public hearing for the zone change and a public hearing for the special permit. So you're really at a 2-step public hearing process, no matter what.
So again, with regards to the special permitting process, Section 8 of our zoning regulations, the commission is afforded pretty wide berth of latitude as to whether that project should be approved or not, to take into consideration such things as fitting in with the community's character, and other stipulations. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So with that, and again, Dawn, I thank you for your comments. I appreciate them. I really take exception when people who sit here and give their time every month to do this job and do it the best that they can. I just take exception when it feels like you're making a derogatory statement about what we end up doing and what our motivations may or may not be. And I think I don't want to say I speak for everybody, but I will say that I think that everybody is doing what they think is best for the town of Southington, all 45,000 residents of this town, and with consideration of all 45,000 residents of this town, yourself included. So again, I appreciate your thoughts and sharing those with us. And it's good to see you back here. I think you were here a couple of months ago. And I don't know if any other member of the commission has any comments.
Yes, Chair Hammersley, this is Commissioner Volpe. I would like to make the comment. Don't feel like she personally attacked anybody with that statement, but I do understand that we are in a tough position. And I hope that we would have the understanding of our community that we do take everything into consideration and that this is a fairly new commission, that you have in front of you right now and that we are listening to you. And I did appreciate the efforts of your statement because they were profound. You clearly did a lot of work. So thank you for that, Dawn. And thank you for clarifying some things for me with that statement that wrapped together with everything else we heard. I think we all needed to hear it. So thank you again.
Christina.
Chairman Hammersley, just to let you know, I still have 2 call-in users. I don't know if they had any comments.
Okay. Are there any other comments from people in opposition to the zone text amendment application? I think the call-in users are unmuted at this time. Okay, I don't hear any. Come back to you, Sev and Mark.
Mr.
Any additional comments you'd like to make?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This proposal and the current age-restricted housing does not allow development in I-rated zone. The wetlands and floodplains of this town are protected by current regulations, and they will be protected under this regulation. Miss Albanese was a chairlady of the Wetlands Commission, and she knows that over the years we basically came to zero impact to wetlands, zero filling of wetlands. We try to avoid wetlands impact at all costs all the time with any projects. This age-restricted housing, the existing one and the current one has a workforce housing component. We have to meet the purpose of the regulation, which is 5 items on the purpose. We have to meet those purposes for the regulation. Otherwise, the commission could deny the application. It is a floating zone, so it just the property that's identified comes forward, and you review it multiple times, like a town planner has stated. The septic system would have to be have suitable soils, and they have to be approved. So there will not be an abuse of that regulation. Insofar as sales, sales have to do with what the public wants and needs. So this regulation is trying to meet the public demand and need. This is not like a Spring Lake Village type of development. It's a totally different style. It's basically a single family development, more like a like a subdivision, regular subdivision. With that, I'll leave it. If you have any more questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Mr. Chairman, Mark Lovely, if you remember when we looked at doing this regulation, we actually worked closely with the Planning and Zoning Commission because our goal was always to do development that was smart and leave more open space. If you look at South End Road, where we only had 5 acres, we actually didn't have any open space at all when we ended up doing the 6-lot subdivision we could have got there. We ended up saving 2 acres of open space, actually created a development that created taxes for the town that didn't have any services to the town, basically for roads, no kids in the school system, because these houses cannot have kids under 18 years old living in them. So that was the main goal, was not to tax the town's infrastructure in being able to do this and create open space. A lot of people don't realize, but in my last 5 developments, I've saved almost 200 acres of open space. So the way that we've always developed in probably the last 10 years is to create as much open space as possible. And that was the other reason for this development, was to be able to do that. So I just wanted to put that out there.
And Mark, just refresh my memory on that development on South End Road, where we approved that 2-3 years ago. I can't remember how long ago it was. That was done on an unanimous vote. Is that correct?
That was done on a unanimous vote, and what happens is if you want that development, I only put that on the market this January. It is all sold out other than 1 unit already. There's such a demand for this type of housing for the seniors that I got people begging me to do more of them.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no.
Mark, you all set?
Thank you.
Any reason to keep this public hearing open, Rob, you think?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Santiago, I guess for me, whenever there's a text change or something new being done, I'm always concerned of unintended consequences. So for me, I'd kind of like to know if there are, which parcels we're talking about that would be impacted by this that otherwise would not have been. So if we're going to approve something, then I'd kind of like to know what's in the game that otherwise would not be in the game. So I agree totally with Mark and Seb in regards to their commitment to open space. I think you guys did great. And as I recall, the South End Road thing, you helped preserve a historical site there as well by adjusting your site plan accordingly. So that was probably one of the better things I thought we approved last year. Was that? So I have no doubt about your commitment there, but I would like to know where this would fit that otherwise might have any other development. I mean, and as we all know, it is America. If you have a piece of land that it's zoned correctly, you could build, and we don't have a lot of leeway on that. But this is a new thing that would be there. So do we know what parcels would potentially be impacted by this that otherwise would not have been? So do we have that list today, or can we get it, Rob?
Yeah, I can. I'll share my screen. Just give me 1 second. Let me tee it up here.
Rob, is your
good too about saying it's 4 sites versus 12 sites, and if we increase it per Commissioner Salka's recommendation in regards to 30 acres versus 20, does that cut it down or not? So I'd kind of like to know where we're talking here.
Okay, so I put it up on the screen, and I know there are people who can't see this, so I'm going to go ahead and go through it as well. It's essentially, I made some quick notes on here that reflect what my comments were earlier. This list assumes that there's public water access available. That's key because that doesn't change if it's private wells. If you can't get public water access to a property, then at that point in time you can't do this age-restricted cluster housing because it's public water required. So again, you'll see on the left-hand side R12, 25, R40 zoning. Well, I'm getting a little feedback here. I think Peter, are you muted? So on the left-hand side, you'll see R12. There's one R12 property, and then it goes through R20, 25, R40. I've highlighted the properties that I believe are potentially subject to the regulation for subject to development under age-restricted cluster housing with the proposed regulation change. And 1011 West Center Street is a single-family lot that has a lot of excess land. 891 Queen Street is the Connecticut Advent Christian Campground. Certainly that could potentially be changed fairly easily. 1091 Mountain Vernon Road is another property that's fairly large. It's under Public Act for farmland tax reduction, but that doesn't really prevent future development. Same thing with the Connecticut Advent. I don't have an address on that. It's a religious condo. I'm not sure what that is. 1012 East Street, which actually is the property that is subject to the solar array that you had just heard from through Verigy that's going to head towards the siting council. 433 Churchill Street's the Forestville Fishing Club. Those are two large properties, and that's potentially fairly easily to convert to development over time. You'll see some X marks there that I think are errors in the data. That 257 Wedgewood Road is not 91 acres. I'm not sure what happened with that entry. 573 Spring Street, same thing. It's not. Most of it's not an R40 zone. Most of it's in a commercial zoning. It's only the very access strip that's in residential. Let's see. And those weren't gonna, those don't qualify under this. 1268 West Street Wood, that's a single family lot with excess land. 960 Johnson Ave, same thing, single family with excess land. 1316 West Street, and that's Bagno Farms. It's on the west side of West Street, kind of near Curtis Drive or Road, I mean. 90 Welsh Road, that's a Cusano property, fairly large. And 510 Churchill Street. Now, obviously, if the commission decides to support a modification of the proposal and approve it to be 30 acres minimum, you're only looking at about 6 properties. That would be 1011 West Center, the East Street, which again is going to be tied up in solar if it gets approved through the siting council for 20 years. 433 Churchill Street, let's see, 1268 West Street, 960 Johnson Ave, and 1316 West Street. So, and again, the limitations: wetlands, steep slopes, inadequate soils, the lot geometry specifics. And, again, the caveat is if there is public sewer available, some of these properties would automatically be developable as it stands today if the special permits were, the zone change and the special permits were approved for a specific proposal. So hopefully that answers the questions.
Peter?
Yes, thank you. So this is great, Rob. I appreciate the effort on short notice. So I think even more so, I think Commissioner Salka's idea puts that more into perspective as well. And I think, Rob, your point is well stated as well in regards to, these may be developed regardless of this particular text change. It's just that would be potential to do that if you wanted. So yeah, this answers it. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I failed to mention the 2279 Mount Vernon Road, the Briarwood. Obviously, I have a little orange circle next to that because I believe that's a targeted property. So that obviously is included either in the 20 or the 30 acre proposal.
Mr. Chairman, this is Sev. If you want, I can comment on the developability of those parcels that Robert just put up, if you're interested.
Sure, Sev, go ahead.
Rob, could you put them up again? Thank you. Okay, the 1011 West Center Street, it is 35 acres. However, probably 2-3 acres of that property is developable. The lower end is all subject to floodplain, the 100-year floodplain area. So you're not going to have much development there, even if they applied. The Christian campground, it has been like that for 100 years. I don't know if that's going to come to pass. And there's sewers on Queen Street. So you could develop that property by running the sewers from Queen Street up. Rabis, again, is subject to a large floodplain and wetlands area. It's in the lowland off of Mount Vernon Road. I'm not familiar with the Advent, Connecticut Advent, 27 acres. I don't know where that's located. East Street, the Catholic Cemetery, that was slated for burial ground years and years ago. New Britain was looking for places to expand their burial grounds, so they purchased the land, And long term, that's the intent of that property. Now it's owned by the church. Forestville Fishing Club, as you know, it's a family-owned individual unit passed on generation to generation. They're not interested to do anything, and it is impacted by a larger body of water. West Street, I'm not familiar with which one that is. Johnson Avenue, yeah, that's near the Cheshire line, and I believe it's full of wetlands. Bagnio is impacted by that power line that runs parallel to the property, but it possibly could be developed if made economic sense for the road extension. Kusana could be developed, and Drods, it is an unusual shape. It's very narrow and long, so it may not be possible. Remember, there's certain criteria to look at when the commission looks at the proposals. And one of them is that the property has to be on a collector road and other criteria. So those are my comments.
Thanks, Seb. Thanks for clearing that up. Any other comments from commission members? Should we go through the list one more time? I don't see anyone looking like they're chomping at the bit to say anything. Rob, any reason to keep this public hearing open?
Not unless there's more questions or more information that's necessary. Certainly,
Any objection? Go ahead.
Yeah, certainly once you close the hearing, then any additional testimony or documentation is not admissible.
Okay. Is there any objection? I'm trying to look at the commission members here on the screen. Is there any objection from any commission members to closing the public hearing at this time? I don't see any. So we'll close the public hearing at this time and we'll move on to item 7B, which is a special permit application for Briarwood Real Estate Limited Partnership for a master plan of individual uses allowed under section 3-01.2 special permit uses in the residential 80-40 zones. Property located at 2279 Mount Vernon Road in an R40 zone. Special permit application number 629. This was continued from our April 21st hearing. I see that the applicant has requested a continuance of the public hearing until our next meeting, which is currently scheduled for July 21st. That said, I think we'll still allow any member of the public who would like to provide testimony either for or against this application to speak at this time. Seb, I think you're involved in this one. I don't know if you have anything to add on this or.
Seb Bovino, planner with Cratchit Jones, represented the applicant. I'm the one that, on behalf of the owners, requested the tabling of this application. There were a lot of questions and comments, so we're looking at that, taking our time to see what we can do. So we request the table.
So Seb, we won't close the public hearing, but I still want to give people who might be with us tonight the opportunity to speak if they have anything they want to add.
No problem.
So with that, if there's anyone with us who'd like to testify in favor of this application, do so now. I don't see or hear anything. Rob, you want to see the call-in users are unmuted right now, correct?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Is there anyone who'd like to testify in opposition to this application at this time? Again, I don't see any, and again, this public hearing will be continued until the July 21st per the request of the applicant, unless there's an objection from some member of the commission.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Salko, do we need a motion on this to continue it?
I don't think so, Bob. I think we can just continue it. We're just not closing a public hearing because I think they're still trying to do some work based on the comments they received at our April 21st hearing. Peter Santago looks like he's got something to add.
Yes, I think, thank you, Santiago speaking. I think what we would do to answer Commissioner Salka as part of the business meeting is just a move to table and then just a roll call, not a roll call, but a consensus, yay, nay, is sufficient as far as the table on that. It's for procedurally, we would do that during business meeting. That's it. From a rule standpoint.
Thanks, Peter and Bob. Okay, so we'll move on to item C under number 7. Louis Giancropoulos, special permit use application for a garage in excess of 3 spaces, property located at 924 Old Turnpike Road in our 2025 zone, parcel size 1.07 acres. Special permit number 635. I hope I didn't chop your name apart too badly.
I've lived with it for 49 years. It wasn't terrible at all. Giannakopoulos.
Giannakopoulos, got it. Go ahead, Louis. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. And this is my first experience of being part of a meeting like this, so hope I don't flop that much. Been a lifelong resident here in Southington, and our dream 25 years ago, my wife and I were able to purchase and build our home here at 924 Old Turnpike Road. You know, first starting off financially, you can't really have your whole dream, but here we are 25 years later, and you know, we're thinking at that part of our age where we're moving on and getting ready for the next stages of our life. And we're in a situation now where originally when we bought the home, you know, there was, you know, Milo and D'Onofrio had built the home for us. We had purchased the land. There were 2 pieces of property here we had to choose from, 914 and the 924. On our property here, it goes back 436 feet. And my wife and I would like to put up a garage because now we're starting to think about the future and protecting our investments. I have an RV and a boat, and just, you know, financially it doesn't make sense for them to sit outside and deteriorate. You know, we're going to want to be doing our work here. We want to put a garage in the back, and there is plenty of room. And there was no mention before when we built the home, and with our plot plans and even on the paperwork, there was no mentions of wetlands. But one of the suggestions from the Planning and Zoning Department, which, by the way, the communication in your office has been phenomenal, and dealing with Karen and Dave and Jim and Rob, all you guys were really easy to play with, and it was nice to go through that. So we're looking to put a garage in the back. We are going to financially, it makes sense to go with a steel frame with a exterior of vinyl siding and everything to match the house. I was asked by the town to hire a soil scientist because there was question of whether both these properties and the street and the neighbors were all built on wetlands, because their map that they showed had some blue, I guess I'm not sure exactly the terminology, but it showed that this is possible wetland area. So I had the soil scientist came out, and he went and put holes throughout the whole entire property, where the blue that the town gave me in the map showed wetlands, but there wasn't. There was a strip coming across our property in the back that he says has a very high water table, and they're deeming it wetlands. He dug down 4 feet, and he was getting some water, okay? And then he would get some water a little bit more. He did come at a time where it's tough this time of year, but as the season moves on, it dries out. I've never had a problem back there. There's grass growing back there. I've mowed it. If you go way back, I don't tend to it. We just weed whacked, and there's just leaves and trees out back. But you'll see in this piece of property here, we want to put the piece, the garage is going to be 200 feet off the back of the house, which will be 40 feet, at least 40, minimum of 40 feet from the neighbor's house over on 914 next door. It'll be 60 feet from the other neighbor's home to the south side. It'll be 114 feet from the end of our property line there. And there was a couple of questions from the town, from Planning and Zoning, asking about how I would go about building this and where. And so they helped with some suggestions. Their questions were gutters. You know, where would you run the water? So I'm very open to any of the suggestions to have this, because once again, this is my wife and I's lifelong dream, and I take any suggestions from the professionals to let us know what and where we need to do things. There was question of crossing the property, crossing what they deemed as the water table there in wetlands. There is a section to the south side where it's only 20 feet, and we can cross there. There was mention from the town about putting gravel down to help protect that. Well, honestly, if you wait hours after it rains, you can go ahead and walk through there. There's no mud or anything back there, so we've been able to go back there as well. Trying to think what else. There was also a question of, do you have to disturb anything? Well, the recommendation was we would have to put in a foundation of 42 inches for the frost line for this building, so that would have to be disturbed and dug up. But that would not be on any of the designated area where there's wetland or the deemed up. I don't know how you want to term it, wetland or high water table. So.
Okay, Lou. Is that everything?
Information. Sorry about that. I'm not sure if there's any other information or suggestions about building a property or building a garage like this.
Well, we'll go through the commission members and see what their thoughts are, if they have any questions, and then we'll circle back to you afterwards. I just want to make sure that you're ready for that.
Sure. I'm always up. Like I said, this is the first time I've gone through this, so you guys' help would be beneficial.
Yeah, we're not, we try to be helpful. So, Commissioner Volpe, any questions?
Nice. Commissioner Volpe here. I see on the wetland map I'm looking at that there's a small shed on the property. What is the approximate size of the shed, and are you planning on keeping it in addition to the structure that you are requesting?
Nope. The shed will be removed. The shed is a 12 by 20 shed, and that will be removed. And then our plan is to just look out back to the nice, pretty woods back there.
Nice. Okay, thank you so much. No further questions.
Thanks, Christina. Commissioner Coviello?
Sorry about trying to come off mute. No, I have no real questions on this one.
Okay. Thanks. Commissioner Coles?
Hi, Commissioner Coles here. So I guess the one consideration that I see here that could be a little bit of trouble, and you kind of, well, Lou, and I appreciate your description on how you want to lay this thing out. My concern is how are you going to get back there while crossing that high water / wetland swath that goes across your property. I believe that I read in some of the notes that there wasn't going to be a driveway that was installed.
Yeah, correct.
So you're still going to have to get vehicles back there, and it's not just a small vehicle; it's a big RV that's going to fit in a 40-foot garage. So I just had a little concern about crossing across that fill-in area where that high water table is, and how that driving almost 300 feet into your backyard, how that's going to affect the surrounding area. So I don't know if you kind of want to comment on that. I'd be happy to kind of get your feedback.
Not a problem. And once again, if you guys being more familiar with this, if you have suggestions, let me know. But this is going to be like a seasonal. We use our RV a few times a year, and it'll be in there all for the winter. So there'll be no traffic, but other than somewhat seasonal. And I also talked with our neighbor, who Kathy's online, and her question was, are you going to put a driveway between our houses? My intention was not to put in a driveway. My intention was to do any suggestions that the town did. Now, if I had to put gravel to a certain point, but we could, but I'm open to suggestions at that point.
Thanks. And I guess the follow-up question is what's the reason why you wanted to put the structure so far in the back as opposed to closer to your house, so that it would be a little bit more on the reservation, so to speak?
Yep. So you're talking about in front of the high water line there?
Yeah,
much shed is.
The existing structure.
That is an alternative location. This is more of an ideal situation because we have so much property that we have and that we want to utilize. And I think, putting it in closer to the house would be just a little too close for the size of the structure, I think. And then it could be, there's not a problem. If denied and I have to, then that's going to be an unfortunate situation to go that route. But I think if you put it closer up, we wouldn't be able to do the 50, because I was also told that his suggestion would be 50 feet from the marked line of the high water line, and that's getting close. That's why I moved it further back, because originally I wasn't going to go that far back. But because when we originally had the plot plan, there was no issue, with the water. But when the town asked to do the soil science test, that's when this came about. So then we moved it back because of the 50-foot suggestion. We have the one side on the south side of the house where it is 20 feet that we would have to cross. I mean, this is the driest, quote unquote, wetland you've ever seen. So, but but I got to go with the professionals because they know more than I do. So, but I've driven back there with my truck before, before any of all this came about, and I never had a problem with it. So
one last quick question, and then I'll certainly yield. Are you on sewer or septic?
Sewer. Yeah, city water and city sewer. Yeah.
All right. Just want to make sure you weren't driving over your system or anything like that. That would not be good.
That would be good. No, that would be awful.
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, can I jump in for a quick second?
Yeah, sure, Rob. Go ahead.
Yeah, Rob Phillips, Director of Planning. I just thought it might be beneficial. It might answer a few questions. The wetlands related issues and questions and concerns, those are actually going to be covered under Dave LaValle, the environmental assistant planner. It's covered under an agent review and approval. So by regulation. So he's going to be able to, through a permitting process, assuming this is approved, take care of any and all concerns when it relates to that, as he normally would. So hopefully that just clarifies that a little bit. Thank you.
Sorry, I forgot that information. Thanks.
Caleb, you all set? Okay. It's a good question about making sure he's not driving over a septic system. That would be disastrous. Commissioner Gwark.
This is Commissioner Gwark. Caleb just went over what I had as far as the weight of an RV driving through there and possibly sinking. I have a few other questions. First one, what is the total roof height at the peak of the proposed garage?
By the way, it's not a mobile home RV. We call it RV. It's a travel trailer. So it's not a motor vehicle that's going to be back in there.
Okay.
The height of it's a 412 pitch with a 14-foot door. So mid-20. I can pull it up, but the reason why I don't have final blueprints is we wanted to get approval first before Coastal will send us the exact state certified prints. But it's going to have a 14-foot door. Take a look. I'm going to pull it up for you. I apologize.
No problem. Yeah, I saw the 16-foot height on the
sorry,
sidewall.
16 door. Sorry.
Well, that's the height.
Yep.
The sidewall, correct? What about, it's what'd you say, 412 pitch?
412 pitch. So it'd be 20 foot.
Okay.
20 foot. Yep, with a 412.
Commissioner Gwark, again, I assume since this is just for your trailer, you're still going to use the current garage for your vehicles, personal vehicles?
My wife will be able to park in it now.
Okay. Let's see. So paved driveway, you said, depending on what the zoning and wetlands come up with. Is it going to be visible from the road from way back there, or not so much?
You would have to position yourself in a strategic place, but no, it won't be visible.
Okay, Commissioner Gwark, again, the last question. I see on the map there, are there currently pipes going through the intermittent water course that drain out into the swamp, or is that a plan to put pipes there?
There is, I'm sorry, did you say some, so basically right there, what is there now is some N12 pipe. Originally, when we had the home built, Mileage and Ofrio had put some there, but recently the pipes had grown roots through it. And basically it's just little drainage pipe. and it was recently upgraded to an N12 perforated 8 inches of pipe.
Okay, Commissioner Gorky, yeah, that's just what I was wondering, because if there is the high water table there and you already have some drainage underneath, that would help if it, we did have, a terribly wet spring season or summer season when you're
absolutely.
driving. So that's it, Commissioner Gork. That's all I
There's
have.
also the common knowledge of knowing when to go back there or not go back there if that's the case. So we wouldn't be
Thank
taking the boat out in that case.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff. Commissioner Albanese?
Commissioner Albanese, putting my wetland scientist hat on, of course. Rob, can you tell us what the process is? I'm sorry, where we are with inland wetland review, the Conservation Commission? I'm sorry, I must have missed that.
Yeah, no, this proposal would fall under agent review in accordance with regulations. So the assistant planner, environmental planner, Dave LaValle, has been working with the applicant and will continue to work with them on any wetlands accommodations that need to be made, assuming this is approved and it moves on to zoning and building permits.
All right, and then I guess the other question I have is, and I'm sure the assistant town planner is covering this, if there's federally regulated wetlands on the site as well, including the intermittent stream, would the applicant need to go before the Corps of Engineers to get approval from the federal agency?
Yeah, I'll follow up with Mr. LaValle on that. Obviously, as you probably know, 5,000 square feet of impact is usually the threshold, although they do sometimes like to look at it less than that. So in this case, I'll follow up with him on that.
Okay, great. And then is there going to be tree removal? Drive in to go across to construct the no tree removal? So this is not a forested wetland area. This is just an open area?
It's open, yep.
Okay, and then the only other question I have is, you said you're going to pave this area?
No, my goal was not to pave it. I just wanted to see what the town wants me to do at this point. I was asked about from the town to put some gravel in the crossing areas of those marked areas that the soil scientists put down.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you, Teresa.
You all set, Teresa?
Commissioner Albanese, yes, I'm done. Thank you, Rob.
Commissioner Locks?
Louis, do you have any intentions of using this for any type of business anytime during, or is this just for your toys?
Just toys.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have. Every other question was answered.
Gotcha.
Sue's a veteran of the commission and she knows what the right question to ask because we've had those come before us in the past. So that's a great question, Sue. Thanks for asking that.
Yeah. When I was younger, I used to think about that stuff, but now I work at Jordan Furniture and I want to be done with work and come home.
I don't blame you. Thank you.
You all set, Sue?
Yes, I am.
Commissioner Macchio?
Commissioner Macchio, no, I think most of the questions I had have been already asked. I'm good with it for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Peter Santago.
Thank you, Peter Santago. Just Mr. G, for your first time, you have performed like a seasoned pro. So you would never know. So, good for you. I got nothing to add. Thank you.
All right, thanks. I put on my coaching hat and see what happens.
Commissioner Salka.
Commissioner Salka, no, all my questions have been answered. Thank you.
Okay. So now, Lou, we're going to open it up to people who might be out there and want to testify either for or against the application. And we'll start with the people who are in favor of the application. If there's anyone out there who'd like to testify in favor of this application.
Do I get to do that?
I think you already did.
Hi, it's Kathy Portier. I'm the neighbor at 914 Old Turnpike Road.
Hi, Kathy. Go ahead.
So when we got the notice about the meeting, I did meet with Lou and we did walk the property back there because I, of course, had some very similar questions that you guys asked. about the wetlands and about how they were going to get back there. Because right now it would be, they would, if they were going to be driving back there frequently, it would be right on our property line pretty much. So again, as Lou mentioned, it's pretty much going to be seasonal when they're going to take the boat out or when they're going to take the trailer out. So I don't anticipate a lot of traffic in between our properties. If a gravel or paved area were to be required, I might like to have a fence or something put up there, just for some privacy. But I'm happy that it's far back. I don't even think I can see it when the trees are out, so that's great. And if they take the shed down, it's going to be all grass, and it will look nice. So yes, I'm in favor of it. As long as everything is up to par.
Okay, thank you, Kathy, for your testimony. Is there anyone else to testify in favor of this application?
Talk to someone. Can you hear me now?
I can hear somebody. I don't know who, but. So one last time, anyone else to testify in favor of this application? All right, anyone to testify in opposition to this application?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Is this Anne Marie?
It is. I apologize.
That's okay.
not
Anne Marie, go ahead.
Yeah, I live at 904 Old Turnpike Road. I'm not opposed to this at all. I do have some concerns. I do live on wetlands also, and my land does get wet. I just don't want it to get further wet. And I know it's going to be a large structure, which is fine with me as long as it's for personal storage only. So I wouldn't be opposed to having them do the structure. I want to make sure the wetlands is tested by the town also. And that's about it. I just want to make sure it's personal storage only with, no repairs and, things like that going on. And I was also worried a little bit about the driveway, so that is a concern. And that's it. I hope it all works out for Lou. I hope it does, but we got to make it right. We're all in the same hood. Thanks for your time.
Well, thank you, Anne Marie, for your testimony. Appreciate that.
Night.
Lou, have you worked with the neighbors on this?
No, sir.
Okay.
Well, what do you mean by worked up? We always
Have
like to
you talked to them about what their concerns might be and tried to address those as they've come to light, or?
Well, basically, when Kathy and I talk, because I'm pretty open to anyone that wants to come up and talk. So they come up and talk, and we talk about it. I show them out back of what we're going to do because we want to make sure that gets up in the open right away. Anyway, happy neighbor, happy wife, happy life. Well, happy neighbors, same thing.
We always try to encourage neighbors to talk to each other before they come to us, just to work out any differences or any concerns. And both Kathy and Anne Marie brought up the driveway issue. So I'm just hopeful that there's a conversation going on between you and them about what that looks like and how that all plays out.
Yeah. We usually get on the boat maybe 8 or 10 times a year. And so we're going back and forth to the garage 8 or 10 times, but it's not a regular basis where the grass, first of all, my wife would yell at me if the grass got torn up. So I don't think there's going to be a need for the driveway, but once again, we'll work with the town and whatever they need. We'll go from there.
Is there any other member of the public who'd like to testify on this application? Have you seen anybody?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Any follow-up comments, Lou?
No, thank you.
Commission members, any follow-up questions or inquiries, clarifications? I don't see anyone who looks like they're. Rob, any reason to keep this public hearing open?
I don't see any.
Okay. So without objection, we'll close the public hearing on this application. And we'll move on to item 7D, Tracy Dubé, Special permit application for a parent-grandparent apartment property located at 250 Pin Oak Drive in an R40 zone, parcel size 0.84 acres, SPU number 636. Do we have Tracy with us? I see a David Dubé on the.
Yeah, I see a T Dubay.
You want to unmute them for a second and see if they're.
Yeah, I did. Anybody hear us? Well, either way, I can at least post the map or the plan for screen share. And, without anybody being able to speak at the moment for whatever reason, I can just inform the commission that obviously looking at the plan, we've got a proposed accessory apartment located off the rear of the garage with the connection to the main structure, and also a connection to the existing exterior deck right here. So it does meet the regulations. So that's pretty much all I can offer on this. Not sure who's here to talk about it and if they have an issue.
You want to just unmute everybody for a minute, Rob, just to see if that will get anybody.
Yep, 1 second here.
If there's anybody to speak for Tracy Dubé.
All right, here we go.
Hello. Tracy Dubé.
All right, it's 8. Okay, well, it's 8:30 and it's getting dark out. You gotta come home, honey.
Rob, you see her?
Can you make sure they ride you back over with together?
Unmute everybody but her.
I can't tell where she is.
I'm in a meeting in my room, but you can go downstairs and.
How about this? Everybody who is speak, mute yourself.
See Lori International and them. I'm gonna be in a meeting in my office.
I'm going through names that I know are not part of this application right now.
Can you speak up for us?
Hello.
I did. So now I muted. I had to go find it. I didn't know who it was.
All right, the best I can do, because I'm not sure everybody else who's on here it potentially could be for this application. I just don't know who it is.
Tracy, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear us? This is David Dooley. Can you
Showing
hear
up as.
me?
I see David on here. Yep.
I'm working through the other names here, so go ahead, Mr. Dewey.
Yes.
Hello. This is Tracy Dewey.
I hear Tracy there too.
I have Tracy and David are the only people unmuted at this point in time. So go ahead. This is for the application, for your application for the accessory apartment.
Tracy or David, you want to tell us what you're doing there?
I don't know if they're muting themselves on their own device or not, but they're unmuted here, and that's the best I can do.
Tracy? David?
Yeah, we're here. Can you hear us?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. We want to put an in-law apartment on for my mom. It's going to go up the back of our garage.
Okay.
Have you seen it in the place? What we're planning on doing?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, Tracy, you're cutting in and out. I don't know if you're on a phone and you're in a bad zone or what the situation. Could you give us a little bit more information on this? What's the square foot size, that type of stuff?
The square, it's about 1,000 square feet, and the in-law apartment would be about 400 square feet, less than 400 square feet.
This is off the back of your garage, correct?
Yes, we're going to share a game room and I'm going to have a second kitchen, and the rest is going to be for my mother.
Okay. Is that it, Tracy? Is that all you got?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to open it up to commission members to see if they have any questions, all right?
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Volpe, any questions?
I don't believe I have any questions at this time. I would like to hear from my fellow commissioners what they think about it. Both of these images in the site plan seem a little bit different, so I'm going to go ahead and let my fellow commissioners handle it a little bit before I have any further questions, but at this point, no, I do not.
Okay, thanks, Christina. Commissioner Coviello.
Yeah, Bob, this seems fairly straightforward to me. I don't really have any specific questions on what I'm seeing in front of me.
You're cutting in and out there, Jones. Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you. You sound like you're in a tunnel somewhere, though.
I think I got a bad connection. How about now? Any better?
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't really have any specific questions. This one seems pretty straightforward as far as ones we've seen like this come through. So nothing really to add to what I'm seeing in front of me.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. Commissioner Coles.
Hi, this is Commissioner Coles. So it looks like you've got a pretty nice space there. The addition, just from the drawing, it's kind of hard to see, but it looks like, is there going to be a bathroom added to that part of the building?
Yes.
Okay. Are you on septic or are you on public sewer?
Oh, sewer.
You are. Okay. And then how close is the addition going to be from the property line?
over 20 feet away.
Okay. Good. All right. And I guess I would echo what the commissioner had said earlier with the last applicant. Have you spoken to your neighbors and tried to work with them and just kind of get their feedback also?
Yes, both neighbors on both our sides we've talked to.
Great. All right. I'd like to see everybody get along. I think those are the questions that I have for you, but the best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Caleb. Commissioner Gwark.
Commissioner Gwark, my one question I had, I saw the signed affidavit about not being a rental and only for exclusive use of the mother, so I had no further questions.
Thanks, Jeff. Commissioner Albanese.
Commissioner Albanese, I do not have any questions. I do encourage these type of improvements for folks to bring their elderly parents in to assist with them. And to me, this seems like a minor addition to a expansion of a home, more so than just an apartment. 400 square feet is not very large, but I'd like to see this work for the Doobies. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa. Commissioner Locks.
Questions at this time?
Okay, thanks, Sue.
Yeah.
Commissioner Macchio.
This is Commissioner Macchio. No, I don't have any questions. I just have a comment. I looked through most of the documentation. I think it's a nice plan. It fits in with all our regulations, so I'm very happy about it. Wish them luck with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Santago.
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Peter. Commissioner Salka.
Commissioner Salka, I just have two questions. One, Does it have I may have missed it because I had to step away for a second. Does it have a separate entrance into this structure?
No.
It does not.
Well, it's going to have a entrance on our back of our deck. She's going to come in through our garage into our door and then into her apartment.
Okay, so there's no actual entrance. If your house is locked up, there's no separate entrance where they could just go straight into this apartment.
No.
Okay. And maybe Rob, maybe you could explain this affidavit. If the applicant decides to sell their home, and what does that mean when they can't rent out that particular, say for A or B and B?
Yeah, it's this is always an interesting thing. I mean, they sign an affidavit. Obviously, it continues with the property. You're not likely to tear it down. So when selling, you can list it as with an available grandparent apartment. They'd have to reapply. A new owner would have to reapply and get the approval for that specific arrangement. But it's it's a situation where it's kind of an extension of the house, and we do have those clearly defined rules, regulations that if we ever find that there's a violation there, we would obviously have an enforcement issue. But it's difficult, but it's covered, and it'll be interesting someday if someone can't sell a house because they have an attached grandparent apartment that they can't use. It's just an interesting way of running this regulation, but I haven't seen really any issues so far.
Okay, thank you very much. That's my last question.
Thanks, Bob. Is there anyone in the public who'd like to testify in favor of this application? I don't see anyone, Rob. You?
Yeah, no, the only call-in user that I unmuted was actually the applicant that I figured out. That's where they were coming from.
Yeah, that was me.
Okay. Is there anyone, we'll ask for it one more time. Is there anyone in favor, testify in favor of this application? Okay. Is there anyone to testify in opposition to this application? Okay. I don't see anybody. Tracy, you have anything else to add?
No, not really.
Okay. Rob, any reason to keep the public hearing open?
I don't see any.
So without objection, we'll close the public hearing. I don't see any, so we'll close that public hearing and move on to item 7E. David B. Techman, special permit application for garage in excess of 3 spaces, property located at 73 Hamilton Avenue in an R40 zone, parcel size 0.88 acres, SPU number 637. Who do we have for this application?
Hello, can you hear me?
Is this Ed?
No, this is David Teichman, 73 Hamilton
Okay, yep.
Ave.
Go ahead, David.
So evening. I'm a new resident to Southington. Just past my 1-year mark. I want to echo the comments that Lou made up front. You guys are really easy to get a hold of. Really good communication lines. Anyways, back to my permit. I take a lot of pride on working on my house, the inside, the out of it, the upkeep of it, and I enjoy having the right tool for the right job here. When we bought the property, there was no external structure for storage or any of that kind of stuff. Obviously the more my wife and I talked about it, the back, edge of the property here, the way that the tree line kind of comes, it's a good corner for a structure like this. I plan on housing probably about a third of this with outdoor power, tractor, snow blower, lawn care, and that kind of stuff just for upkeep. I've got 2 young girls, so I plan on keeping a lot of their toys, the bikes and that kind of stuff out there as well. The other side of this, I really enjoy woodworking. I've got a lot of tools, table saws, lathe, etc. I build furniture for my kids and with bookshelves and desks and that kind of stuff. I turn bowls and pens. So I'm looking to use some of this as a workshop as well.
Okay. Is that it, David? You all set?
Yeah, that's all I got. It's a 40 by 24 garage on the back side of the property. We put a bunch of garage doors just to get things in and out of there. Like I said, depending on the weather and depending on what project's in use. Purely woodworking, and like I said, kind of shed storage out there.
Okay. What's your side yard distance there at the back corner?
So this is 11 feet. There's actually kind of in the middle. Well, this is the middle east side here. There's a small shrub, kind of collection of shrubs there. So we didn't want to get too close to them and have to pull them out. Also on the east edge of the property there, kind of in line with the proposed building, we just put up a swing set. So it's kind of towards the west edge.
It doesn't look like you have a garage or a driveway going back there from the plan I'm looking at.
No garage, no driveway to it. The existing driveway stays in place.
Okay, David, so I'm going to open it up to other commission members to ask questions if they have them. We'll start with Commissioner Volpe.
I do not currently have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. Joe Coviello.
No questions, Bob. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Coles.
Mr. Coles has more of a comment. Actually, I do have a question. So there is no extension of the driveway, but there is going to be garage door bays there. Is that accurate?
Yeah, tractor, that kind of stuff to get in and out, obviously to mow the lawn and like I said, getting a piece of plywood through a door, that kind of stuff. I like to, I don't want to have to squeeze it through.
Gotcha. Is there going to be water service to that building?
No.
Okay. And it's going to be slab on grade?
The plans that were provided with the building were piers and slab, but I've kind of contacted a couple people in town about the concrete, and they said that obviously the building department knows best here, and kind of like Lou said, it probably is going to have some type of foundation wall. Haven't got there yet, obviously.
I just, my biggest concern about a building like this in a more of a residential neighborhood, unlike the applicant that we saw before, it's going to be a little bit closer to the property and a little bit more within eye shot of your neighbors, and it's a big sucker, and so I just have a little bit of concern about that. I just wanted to at least point that out on the record. I don't know if you wanted to comment on that at least my concern with the size of the structure and its relative distance from the other properties within the neighborhood. I want to just give you the opportunity to kind of talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem moving this in a little bit into the middle of the property. As far as tree line and treescape and that kind of stuff, there are shrubs and bushes that currently grow towards the front of the property, kind of secluding the backyard. And there's a good deal of trees and other bushes and stuff that actually line the property line.
All right, I'll yield to my colleagues.
Okay, thanks, Caleb. Commissioner Gwark.
Commissioner Gwark, I saw that you had signed the no commercial use. I guess it's an affidavit, but I saw that letter that was included, which is good. Other question is it going to basically look like your house, the same siding, roof color, and all that? Is that what you're going for?
Correct. White on white, black roof. Yep.
Okay, that's it for Commissioner Gwark. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Commissioner Albanese.
Commissioner Albanese, no, I do not have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa. Commissioner Locks.
All the questions have been answered. Thank you.
Excellent. Commissioner Macchio.
Commissioner Macchio, I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Commissioner Santago.
Thank you. I guess my thing is the proximity to, it looks like Mr. Leahy's property line, because it does seem a little close there. So I'd be in favor of moving it inward a bit. And have you spoken with Mr. Leahy about this structure so close to his property?
Absolutely. Yep. Ed's on the phone tonight.
Oh yeah. No, I know Mr. Leahy, so I.
Yeah, no, I've talked to a good number of people on the street about this project, and a lot of people seem indifferent about it. The comments that I've gotten back have been positive.
Okay, I think just from a property line standpoint, it does seem a bit close there. So
Understandable.
if engineering has issues with it, but it does seem a bit tight. That would be the only thing that I would say.
Sure.
Thanks, Peter. Commissioner Salka?
Just a couple of questions. How far, if we move the garage or if the garage is moved more central on the property, how far will the nearest point be to another structure, another house, next door neighbor?
Actually, the other houses on street are actually in line with the current house itself. So I think that's a good 100 feet from the front corner to my current garage. So you're probably talking about the same.
Okay. And you also mentioned that you do a lot of woodworking. That's what you're planning on doing on that. If you start using power saws, table saws, etc., they generate quite a bit of noise. And I'm just wondering, or asking that you have, the concerns of the neighbors when you're working, and not work, 10, 11 o'clock at night with your table saw.
Oh no, I've got two small girls. They're in bed. They're in bed now, so that's not an issue.
That's good. Thank you. That's it, Mr. Commissioner.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. So, David, at this point, we're going to open it up to the public. If there's anyone to testify in favor of this application.
Yeah, this is Mr. Lee speaking. Can you hear me?
Yep, Ed, we got you. Go ahead.
All right, as you can see, here's my back of my property. I am on the property today. There's absolutely no
Ed, you seem to be moving away from the microphone there. You're cutting in and out. Could you?
Oh, I'm sorry. My property line is next to Dave. I have absolutely no problem with him putting that structure on that property line. I've got raised beds over there. I've got hibiscus trees up there and roadies up there. So
Get closer to the microphone.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yep, that's perfect. Right there.
Oh, that's really close. All right, so again, I have no problem with Dave putting his structure on my property line. We share the same property line. I've got azaleas. I've got raised beds. I've got azalea trees and roadies. So if he puts a shed there, I won't even see it. So I don't have a problem with Dave. Dave's a great neighbor, very considerate. He's got two young girls, lovely girls, and is the best dog. And I got turtles in my yard.
Yes, we had that conversation earlier. So,
I'm in
Ed,
favor.
could you just give us your address just so we have it on the record?
I'm sorry. My name is Ed Leahy, 83 Hamilton Ave, Southington, Connecticut.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks for your testimony. Thank you. Is there anyone else here to testify in favor of this application? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone to testify in opposition to this application?
Mr. Chairman, if we don't get any comments, I do have one letter I'll share with the commission.
Yeah, I was going to go there in a second. I don't see anyone looking to testify in opposition. So, Rob, why don't you talk about the letter we got?
I'm going to share my
the packet too.
I'm going to share my screen again and just quickly read it in for the record. June 11th, 2020, this letter is in opposition to SBU 637. I'll kind of paraphrase this. The permit involves property owned by David Teichman, 73 Hamilton Avenue. Let's see. Mr. Teichman's request is in violation of R40 zoning as well as simply unreasonable. Number one, the applicant has a spacious two-car garage located on the Hamilton Ave property. His request for special exception of an added 960 square feet of garage space within a standalone structure is excessive and is not in harmony with the neighborhood. Two, applicant is seeking to locate this large 960 square foot structure in a side yard area of his property. Permit filing locates the structure just 11 feet from the property line. Current side yard regulations associated with R40 zoning requires any structure to be located 25 feet from the property line. I oppose this special permit and request the town of Southington PZC continue with their responsibility of enforcing established zoning regulations, and in this case, protecting the character of Hamilton Ave and surrounding neighborhoods. Regards, Ann Laporte, 719 East Street, Southington, Connecticut.
Okay, thanks, Rob. So Dave, we come back to you now and ask you if you have anything else you want to add.
No, not this time.
You all set? Any response to the movement of the structure a little bit further in on the side yard? How do you feel about that?
I'm open to it. You know, the structure's kind of tilted into the yard, so it's really just the back corner that would be, you know, is the closest part of it. So yeah, if it needs to be moved in a little bit, I'm not opposed to it.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Dave. Rob, any reason to keep this open?
I don't see any.
Mr. Chairman, quick question on your comment.
Yep, go ahead.
Do we just leave it that he could move it, or do we have to can we specify how far he's going to move it? Because we're leaving it sort of open of where he's going to place that structure.
I think we'll take care of that in the business section of the meeting when that application comes up. We can probably do either. We can either leave it open to flexibility to work out with town staff, or we can specify a certain distance if we wanted to do that. Is that good, Bob?
Thank you.
Good?
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any objection from the commission members to closing this public hearing? Don't see any, so we'll close the public hearing. We'll move on to the business meeting. Item 8A, Lovely Development, petition to enact a zoning regulation amendment of text, section 3.09.3A, and modify section 3.09.6 of the age restricted cluster housing regulations, zoning application 604.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion. This is Commissioner Selka. I'll make a motion to approve with the wording change from 20 acres to 30 acres or more.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Here, Rob.
Yeah, just have to unmute yourself and just state your name and title. That's all you need to do. Otherwise,
We're looking for a second to Commissioner Selka's motion.
It's Commissioner Macchio. I'll second it with the change that Bob has recommended.
Okay, thanks, Jim. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Discussion. I think with the change from 20 to 30, we've really limited the amount of property that's available for this kind of zone. And then as we reviewed each of the possible locations, I think we narrowed it down to maybe 3 or 4 at the most that would be available with this 30 acre or more change. So that's the reason I submitted the motion.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Any other comments from the commission members?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Santiago.
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, I think, I was very skeptical of this when I saw it originally because I was very concerned about how many parcels this is and are we spot zoning, and then, if we're talking about a lot of parts of town that would be developable that wouldn't have been, and et cetera, et cetera. I think Rob's research helped me with that. Kind of coming to grips with what it's saying. Because really, we're probably only talking about 2 places to do something, and I think when we created this particular kind of development, it was, if those of us were around, I think it was in order to get more open space or green space, I think is probably the correct term, to get more green space within a particular development that you wouldn't normally. And which was, how do we arrive at getting, if we can't buy open space, how do we get more space within a development once it's built. And so I think that was kind of the genesis of it. And I know on that road that's what Mark did. So I think I kind of changed my mind on this. I'm more slated to go along with it than I was previously based upon the data that was shown to me in regard to impact and where things would in realistic standpoint take place. So I guess I'm okay with this. If indeed, as Rob said, a target, potential to be at the Briarwood property, maybe that's the best we could hope for there. I mean, a school's not as much as we'd like to, and if they're trying to get uses or whatever, that may be okay, I guess. But outside of that, I think from a regulation standpoint and a text change, given what Commissioner Silva did on increasing from 20 to 30, which I think was a very astute thing to do, I'm tending to say okay with it.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Any other comments from the commission members?
Yes, this is Commissioner Volpe here. I just created to protect our lands. And so, I'm a little concerned that even though 30 acres does afford less properties to choose from, it's still some of the larger parcels left in our town. So I also want to reaffirm the fact that if we allow this to happen, or if, we let this happen, that we will be allowing a change in landscape to our town that could further be used in other situations. And also reaffirm the fact that we do already have things in place within the zoning regulations that cater to this idea. So, I'm kind of left with why specifically just this one, if there are other areas on a case-by-case basis to which we could discuss this matter. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention, and be sure that we're being cognizant of that. Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. Any other comments from commission members?
Yeah, I think Peter again. I think Christina. I think you're right. I think where I came to be, and that's what I struggled with too. So that's why I kind of asked what was the difference, and the difference was so the parcels could still be developed today. So the parcels in question could still put stuff on it. You just wouldn't have this particular thing on it. So the parcels in question could still be developed. And what this did was bring, quite honestly, less density versus more, which was good, as well as it put septic in there. So I struggled with the same thing you kind of are, and then I kind of, I think I'm okay. But your point's well taken. But having gone through all that stuff, I kind of came out on the other side of it, I guess.
Thank you, Commissioner Volpe here again. I just think that, the most basic standpoint, it just seems to allow for, this particular amendment to only serve such few parcels when there are other things already in place, just seems a little bit too serving to an idea that we've yet to be presented with, and if and when that did come up, we could be having this conversation again, as that was made clear to me. So, making such a formidable change, even though we have done some great work with the POCD and making more housing available to our 55 plus community, trust me, I got a lot of them here in town. I just think that to do something so specific for such few parcels, it's catered a little bit too much to, building these specific units, and not allowing more diverse means for those parcels if they were to be approached. And the zoning overlay could still possibly happen if that were the case, because it could come in front of us. So there are things already there. And that's what's kind of making me question such few parcels for this one thing to make such a prolific change to our regulations, is concerning. So I just wanted to bring that forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. Any other comments from the commission members? Before we vote on, I'll just say, just as a practice, I tend to be a little bit leery when zoning text amendments are brought before us, especially when they're brought before us with all due respect by developers. And I sort of look at that with a special microscope to make sure that it's not doing something that has some unintended consequence to us. I think I'm comforted with the fact that if something were to happen, with a project that as a result of this, that comes back to us to look at the specifics of that project and gives us the opportunity to weigh in at that time. We have another couple bites at the apple should this go in. Having said that, I think that Christina raises a good point, and that is that providing housing for people who are over the age of 55 is part of our plan of POCD, which is something that we adopted 4 years ago. I think that's still a relevant goal and objective that we want to achieve, and I think that this provides some opportunity towards that. There's speculation on what property this is geared towards, and the Briarwood property is one that's been brought up. And I agree. I think it was either Peter or Bob Salko who mentioned that might be the best use of that property that we can hope for at this point. And I tend to agree with that. I don't know that there's anything else out there right now that we could do to get that property, back on the rolls again. And I think that's a good thing. So, hearing no other comments from commission members, Rob, you want to call a roll?
Certainly. Commissioner Gork?
Commissioner Glorick, yes.
Yes.
Macchio?
Commissioner Macchio, yes.
Commissioner Volpe?
Commissioner Volpe, no.
Commissioner Santiago?
Santiago, yes.
Commissioner Salka?
Commissioner Selka, yes.
And Chairman Hammersley?
Hammersley is yes. Motion passes 6-1. On to item number B. This is a special permit application of Briarwood Real Estate. I'm not going to read the whole thing. We've been through that a couple times. Everybody knows what it is. And I think we're looking for a motion to table.
Santiago, I move to table. Sorry about
Just a second. I'm sorry. This is Commissioner Volpe. So the motion just passed without stipulation for 30 acres. Is that correct?
Oh, the stipulation for 30 acres was part of the motion.
I just wanted to be sure. Thank you so much for the clarification.
No problem. Good question, Christina. Appreciate that. So item number B, we're looking for a motion to table at the request of the applicant to our next meeting on July 21st.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Selko. We have a motion to table or a motion to continue the public hearing?
We didn't have a motion to continue the public hearing. The public hearing is remaining open. We're looking to table the this application part of this. I still need a motion. I don't think we have one.
Commissioner Santiago moved to table.
Okay.
Commissioner Locke, second.
All right. Without objection, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. On to item C, Louis Genantopoulos. I hope I did you justice there. Special permit use application for a garage in excess of 3 spaces. Property located at 924 Turnpike Road in an R2025 zone. Parcel size 1.07 acres. SPU number 335. Can we get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Salka makes a motion to approve that application as submitted with the stipulation that the shed on the property gets removed by the end of the project.
Okay. Can we get a second?
Commissioner Locke, second.
Commissioner Locke is a second. Any discussion on this?
The only thing I would like to just state is that it would be under the advice of Dave LaValle.
Say that again, Sue.
That all this should be through the advice of Dave LaValle as it proceeds.
Okay. I think that's a good point.
That's right.
Thanks, Sue. Anyone else have anything to add? Rob, we need a roll call on this.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Gork,
Commissioner Gwark, yes.
Commissioner Locks,
Commissioner Lax, yes.
Commissioner Macchio,
Macchio, yes.
Commissioner Volpe,
Commissioner Volpe, yes.
Commissioner Centennial,
Santiago, yes.
Commissioner Salka,
Commissioner Selka, yes.
Chairman Hammersley.
Hammersley is a yes. Motion passes 7-0. Good luck, Lou. Thanks for being with us tonight. Appreciate your work on this.
Everybody, what an experience. I appreciate you all.
I hope you're not too harmed by it.
No, not at all. I'll stay on and be part of this. I want to motion on with you guys.
we welcome you. Yeah.
Take care. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too, Lou. Thank you. Item D, Tracy Doobie, special permit application for a parent-grandparent apartment located at 250 Pin Oak Drive in an R40 zone, parcel size 0.84 acres, SBU number 636. Do we have a motion?
Commissioner Selks will make a motion to approve SPU 636.
Do we have a second?
Santiago, I'll second it.
Thanks, Peter. Any conversation on? Don't see any.
Commissioner Gork, just one thing, Chairman.
Commissioner Gork, yep, go ahead.
Do we need to make any condition or stipulation? I know there was this signed affidavit. I don't know how much weight that carries because we haven't seen any problems with it. But to be for the parents only and not for a rental unit?
Rob, you want to weigh in?
I believe we have our normal. Sorry, I'm thinking the wrong thing. We have our normal stipulations that are part of the regulations that we always attach to the plan, I believe. So the typical ones, I just can't pull it off the top of my head without looking up the regulations. So if you want to just state the standard requirements. Basically, the applicants are notified of the requirements on the site plan.
Jeff?
Yep, I'm all set if everybody else is all set. Thank you.
Jeff, anything further from commission members? Macchio? It looked like you wanted to say something. Now you're on mute, so.
No, I'm good. I'm good with everything.
Okay. Rob, you want to call the roll on this?
Sure. Commissioner Gork?
Commissioner Gork, yes.
Commissioner Locks?
Lax, yes.
Macchio?
Macchio, yes.
Commissioner Volpe?
Commissioner Volpe, yes.
Commissioner Santiago?
Santiago, yes.
Commissioner Salka?
Commissioner Selka, yes.
Chairman Hammersley?
Hammersley's a yes. Motion passes 7-0. Item E, David Techman, special permit application for a garage in excess of property located at 73 Hamilton Avenue in an R40 zone, parcel size 0.88 acres, SPU number 637. Can we get a motion?
Commissioner Selk can make a motion to approve SPU 637 with the stipulation that the applicant work with the building department to move the building further off the property line up to 24 feet.
Thank you, Bob. Can we get a second?
This is Commissioner Volpe, and I'll second agreeing with Commissioner Salka, but to 5 feet from the line.
Salka?
I will amend my motion to make it 25 feet. You're correct.
Commissioner Volpe? Still a second, Commissioner Volpe, correct?
Yes, second, yes. Sorry, that's what I
Okay.
meant. Sorry, Commissioner Volpe, yes, second.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Is there any further discussion from commission members?
Commissioner Gwark.
Gwark,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Okay, I'll just quick. He is allowed to build within 10 feet away. It's a rear yard and a detached structure, correct?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I can answer that because that's exactly what I was going to discuss. That's exactly what I was going to discuss. The definition of rear yard is pretty clear, and it's basically anything in the behind the actual back foundation of the home. And in this case, that would be considered an accessory structure and could be located at most 10 feet from the property line. So that was a little bit of the opposition letter may not have been completely clear on that specific regulation and definition. So I just want to add that for the commission to consider. That's all.
I think it's an important point. Jeff?
Yes, this is Commissioner Gork again. I agree that, well, he's allowed to build within 10 feet. It's up to him if he wants to move it. That's one thing, but I don't want to force him to move it if he doesn't have to. And according to the regulations, he doesn't have to move it, and he can even move it a foot closer. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment, please?
Yeah, sure. Commissioner Salka, go ahead.
The reason I made that motion with the stipulation is that the applicant had agreed to move it off of the property line. And I thought that with the size of that structure and being 10 foot from the property line was too close. That's why I stipulated the 25 feet.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. Is there any other comments from the commission members?
Commissioner Gork, one more time. Bob,
Jeff, go ahead.
you said up to 25 feet, correct? Not he has to move it 25 feet away?
It was up to 25 feet, yes.
Okay, yeah. I agree with you that it is a large structure and it is close to the property line, but his immediate abutting neighbor seems to be more than fine with it where it is. So that's my reasoning for that. Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff. Anything else from the commission members? See, Rob, you want to call the roll?
I just want to be clear on this motion, motion and distance from the property line. If we could just make sure that's very clear, because I'm not quite sure I'm clear. The building department doesn't.
The way I heard the motion, and Bob Soka and Christine Volpe, if you want to just correct me if I'm wrong here, but the way that I heard it was that the motion was to approve with a stipulation that the structure be moved further away from the side yard, up to 25 feet away from that side yard. Is that accurate, Bob Soka?
This is Commissioner Salka. Yes, that is correct.
Is that accurate with what your understanding is?
Yes, this is Commissioner Volpe. I do think wouldn't really affect the use of the building for the property owner. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with the 25 feet as a second.
Does that help you, Rob Phillips?
Commissioner Gork, can I just jump
Gork,
in?
go ahead.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Volpe, it's up to 25 feet. It's not, he's going to have to move it 25 feet away. Are you still all right with that?
Commissioner Volpe here. Yes, that is my understanding. I just want to be sure that we're making it up to 25 feet.
Okay, this Commissioner Gork again.
Rob, does that clarify things for you?
So we're moving the structure moving 25 feet from the property line.
Up to 25 feet.
Somewhere between 11 and 25 as a modified plan.
Yeah, in other words, I think that's correct.
Okay.
You all set, Rob?
I just want to make sure it's clear because, I mean, if the applicant moves it to 12 feet, that it's still okay. So
I think, Bob Soka, you got something there? Like you were talking.
What was that again? So I'm sorry.
It looked like you wanted to say something. I just want to make sure before we call a roll, if you have something to say, you get an opportunity.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other comments or things that any other commission member wants to bring up? I don't see any. Rob, you want to call the roll, please?
Gork?
Commissioner Gork, yes.
Commissioner Lutz?
Commissioner Lutz, yes.
Commissioner Macchio?
Commissioner Macchio, no.
Commissioner Volpe?
Sorry, Commissioner Volpe, yes. Sorry.
Commissioner
Santiago, yes.
Commissioner Salka?
Commissioner Salka, yes.
Chairman Hammersley?
Hammersley's yes. Motion passes 6-1. On to item F, Town of Southington floodplain application for a floodplain disturbance associated with bridge replacement, Marion Avenue, bridge over Humpson Brook, FF number 268. Before we get into this, I believe that we have a commission member who would like to recuse herself.
Clicking wrong buttons. I'm sorry. This is Commissioner Volpe, and I will be recusing myself from this one. And I recommended at the chair's discretion, whomever he may choose, but I recommended Caleb. And I will close my video for this one, and then I'll come back if that's okay. So thank you so much.
Okay, well, thanks, Christina. We'll sit Caleb Coles on this. I think that Mr. Grappone is going to talk to us about this application.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is a floodplain filling application associated with the full replacement of Marion Avenue Bridge over Hummiston Brook. Just to go over some of the documents that we submitted along with the application, there was a project description, 90% project plans, which we had assistance from Malone and McBroom Engineering to assist us in preparing those plans, and a hydraulic report was submitted with the documentation. For those that do not know the bridge location, it's approximately 430 feet north of the intersection of School Street. There's actually two bridges within the section on Marion Avenue between School Street and Burritt Street. It's the southerlymost bridge structure. Located between numbers 1103 and 1077 Marion Avenue. We had submitted a LOTSIP grant. LOTSIP stands for Local Transportation Capital Improvement Program. And we were granted that. It's 100% reimbursement on construction as long as the towns prepare the bid spec and plans. Just a matter of history, the original bridge was constructed in 1930 and widened in 1975. It consists of steel bridge superstructure and 18-inch thick concrete reinforced slab. The most recent inspection that we had, independent inspection done by the DOT, rated the superstructure as poor. So basically, the existing structure is in a serious condition right now due to heavy rust and delamitation of the existing beams, undersized beams. As part of the full replacement, we are proposing to replace the structure with a four-sided box culvert to minimize closure at the maximum extent possible. The culvert bottom will be overlaid with minimum 1 foot of supplemental stream bed material. The proposed culvert and channel design is to allow for year-round fish passage. Extensive reviews as part of the LOTSIP requirement with Connecticut DOT. DEP, we actually submitted an application to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers under 33 CRF 325. Connecticut DEP also in May. Final design is submission, we estimate in early September. We're using, as part of our wetlands application, best management practices to avoid temporary impacts on water quality during construction by the use of hay bales. We also have a dewatering plan which incorporates a 48-inch diameter temporary bypass pipe and temporary cofferdam to allow for flow to go around the work area while the culvert is constructed. As part of this, the floodplain study, this is in a floodplain area, as the application indicates. We did an extensive, as part of the documentation, hydraulic report that got submitted to Connecticut DEP. And basically, it entails that there's no negative impact in the flood storage. Compensatory flood storage is not required. And we are basically requiring with the requirements of the National Flood Insurance Program by 3 criteria. One, it will pass the 100-year storm event with at least 1 foot of underclearance. It will maintain the water surface elevation no higher than the existing condition water surface and will provide a minimum of 1 foot of freeboard from the hydraulic control. The estimated construction cost is $1.4 million. This also went before the State Historic Preservation Office because the entire project area is located within the National Register of Historic Places, listed Marion Historic District. So there's a lot of history and artifacts involved in the study that will be collected and given to the local historic district. So with that, that concludes the presentation, and I offer it out to questions.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Are there any questions from commission members? If you just want to unmute yourself rather than go down the list, if you just want to unmute yourself and speak up.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Salka. Just a
Commissioner Salka,
question.
go ahead.
Question for Jim. What about the traffic flow during the construction? I don't know if you covered that or not. Are you going to close that road off and do it quickly, or are you going to have one lane at an alternate?
We are actually, due to the fact that we want to minimize, because obviously Marion Avenue is a heavily traveled roadway. We are going to do this within a 2-week period. Get the contractor in and out of there. So we are actually going to do a road detour closure. We worked this out with the chief of police. Had several meetings with him on that. And the DOT, as part of our staging plan, is on board with a full closure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Commissioner Coles, I saw you had your hand raised.
Thank you. Jim, you did mention real quick about the cost of it. Was the payment for it going to be bonded? I don't know if you mentioned how we were going to pay for this.
No, it is a LOTSIP grant, so basically it's 100% construction. Design money was encompassed between capital money or LOSIP funding. So we were able to do it that way, so it will not be bonded.
Okay. And then the historic zone around there is like putting a new bridge. Does that affect anything, or is it? I mean, is that a moot point?
As part of the SHPO review, we actually had to have a reconnaissance survey done by Heritage Associates. We did a phase 1 reconnaissance survey, which actually did probes in around the disturbed areas. There's going to be a couple relocated driveways from historic properties. Actually, number 1103 Marion Avenue and 1108 Marion Avenue, which is the former location of the Frost Bolt Company. And they manufactured carriage bolts. So there's a lot of artifacts that were recovered in there. So it was heavily surveyed. I want to say like in the 500 range that were actually surveyed. So as part of SHPO requirements, there's going to be an archaeological monitor to be present during the construction. So
Okay. So SHPO gave the project the green light.
They did, but it's going to be monitored. There's going to be artifact information located in the specification for the benefit of the contractor. So we're highly sensitive that this is actually a cultural sensitive area.
Thank you.
Caleb, you all set? Okay. Any other comments or questions from the commission members?
Yes, Commissioner Albanese has a couple questions or just comments. Mr. Capone, what time of year is the proposed construction for the superstructure replacement?
We are probably going to bid it this winter for spring construction. However, it is going to be located, in a sensitive area, including getting out and getting in the specification, the requirements of the natural diversity database requirements. We envision, box turtles, some fauna and other wildlife that's going to be part of that. Silt fence will be put up, so there's going to probably be turtle education, turtle sweeps, things of that nature that are the contractor's going to have to be abide by.
Right. Okay, that's what was my next question, and you answered that question. I appreciate that. Is there going to be significant tree removal?
No, we're minimizing tree removal as much as practical. In fact, I think the requirement of one department was not to do any stumping. If we're going to clear trees, that the stumps remain,
Right.
and no grubbing be done. So again, that's all going to be noted in the plans.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
You all set, Teresa?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chairman.
Any other questions or comments from the commission members? Okay, I don't see any. So,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I meant to say we did receive a favorable application to Conservation and Inland Wetlands. That's part of the documentation.
Okay. Okay. I think we have that in our packet. Rob, we all set to move on this?
Yeah, sorry, I have a cat that's bothering me over here. Yeah, we're all set.
Okay. So if we can get a motion.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Salks, make a motion to approve application FF 268.
Thank you, Commissioner Salka. Can we get a second?
Second.
What was that, Caleb?
Yes, sir. I'm on the radar.
All right. Commissioner Coles with a second. Is there any further discussion? Don't see any, Rob. We need a roll call on this?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Commissioner Gore?
Warwick, yes.
Mr. Locks?
Try again, Sue.
I did get Commissioner Locks.
You got her? She's a yes?
Yeah. On to Commissioner Macchio.
Commissioner Macchio, yes.
And the alternate Coles?
Coles, yes.
Santiago?
Santiago, yes.
Commissioner Salka?
Commissioner Salka, yes.
Chairman Hammersley?
Hammersley's a yes. Motion passes 7-0. Someone want to let Christina know that she can come back in. Thanks for your service, Caleb. I assume that she's listening and she knows. We'll move on to item G, Lovely Development Incorporated floodplain filling application for the construction of a new building to replace one destroyed by fire. Property located at 318 North Main Street, owned by Beaton Corbin Manufacturing Company in a B zone. Parcel size, I think that's supposed to read 1.65 acres. FF number 267. This was tabled from our last meeting on May 19th. And I think that the reason it got tabled, we were waiting for wetlands to weigh in on this. Is that accurate, Rob?
Yeah, so wetlands had to basically approve the floodplain application portion of this two-part application. And they were meeting about, I think it was 2 days after your last meeting. So they did meet and they did move it forward. So both of them are ready for your action.
Okay. Sev or Mark, anything to add?
Mr. Chairman, Commission members, Sev Bovino represented the applicant. Just wanted the Commission know that we are doubling the storage. After the project is done, we will provide double the current storage capability on this property by excavating some quantities on site and then additional quantities on a property downstream known as Primus property, which was approved by staff in terms of location.
Okay. Do we have a motion from someone?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Selk can make a motion to approve FF 267.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Salk, second.
Commissioner Macchio, a second.
Thanks, Jim. Any further discussion from commission members? Seeing none, Rob, you want to call the roll?
Commissioner Warwick,
Yes.
Commissioner Locks,
Yes.
Macchio,
Macchio, yes.
Commissioner Volpe,
Commissioner Volpe, yes.
Commissioner Tago,
Santiago, yes.
Commissioner Salka,
Commissioner Selk, yes.
Chairman Hammersley.
Hammer says a yes. Motion passes 7-0. Item H, Lovely Development, Inc., site plan application to construct 2 buildings to replace the ones destroyed by fire. Property located at 318 North Main Street, owned by Beeman Corbin Manufacturing Company in a B zone, parcel size 1.65 acres, SPR number 1797. This was tabled from the May 19th meeting. Rob, is this ready for action?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Sev or Mark, anything to add on this? I think we looked at the site plan at the public hearing on the 19th.
Mr. Chairman, we received extensive comments from staff and comments were addressed. So unless staff has any comments, I believe that we're ready.
So Rob, I'll give you one last chance for comments. I think any comments? Rob Phillips?
No, I have no further comments on this. Just ready for action.
Okay, or can we get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Selk will make a motion to approve SPR 1797.
Thanks, Commissioner Selka's motion. Second?
Commissioner Macchio, second.
Thanks, Jim. Any further discussion from commission members?
I'd like to make just one comment.
Yeah, Commissioner
There
Lawrence,
was-
go ahead.
There was just some comments from the local neighbors about the parking on the street. Just want to make sure that's handled properly. If that does happen. Because there seemed to be a concern by a couple of people.
I think Stephanie Urillo came and testified in front of us about the parking, and my recollection was that she was fine with where that was going. I think she was just concerned that the overflow would affect her parking. And I think that Sev and Mark sort of talked a little bit about that. I don't know that there's anything new that came to light since then. Rob, do you know anything?
Just to follow through with it and make sure it does happen.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too. So,
Yeah, I have nothing. Rob Phillips, Director of Planning. I have nothing to add on that. Their parking is compliant with the regulations. So, certainly, I don't know that there's a lot of room to be parking along Chapman. So, I think if there was any overflow, they might be parking across the street in the existing, kind of strip over on the other side of that lot. But our parking requirements typically are more than are necessary in most cases, but we've been trying to tighten that up a little bit.
okay. Thanks, Rob. So you satisfied with that? Mr. Locks?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Any further comments from the commission members? I think this is a great day in Southington history that this property gets repurposed the way it's being repurposed. And with that, Rob, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Gork,
Commissioner Gwark, yes.
Commissioner Locks,
Macchio, yes.
Commissioner Volpe,
Commissioner Volpe, yes.
Commissioner Tago,
Santiago, yes.
Commissioner Salka,
Commissioner Selk, yes.
Chairman Hammersley.
Hammersley's a yes. Motion passes 7-0. Item I, Southington Cheshire Community YMCA site plan modification application to construct a new bathroom building and splash pad, property located 1000 East Street in an R80 zone, parcel size 141 acres, SPR number 1798. Who do we have here for that?
Brian Panico with Harry Cole and Son on behalf of the Southington Cheshire Community YMCA.
Okay, go ahead, Brian. Show us what you got.
So this is, as you already said, it's R80 zone. This is a current use as a camp, 141 acres. The current area of development that we're talking about, where the splash pad is going to go, it sits on top of an existing sports court. It's kind of a multi-purpose hardscape area that's fenced. And so the Southington Cheshire Community YMCA would like to repurpose this area and construct a splash pad and a restroom / changing facility. Involved with that, it will be tied into the existing water service, will be utilized for the changing area and the splash pad, and then we're proposing to extend the sanitary sewers up to this building for the restrooms and for the wastewater from the splash pad itself during backwash and stuff like that. We are also proposing some extension to the existing other restroom facilities on the site. We have received some staff comments, I believe by Jim. And after review, we haven't addressed them quite yet, but after review, we see no issue with being able to address those comments. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Thanks, Brian. Commission members, any questions? If you could just unmute yourself and speak up and identify who you are first, please.
Commissioner Coles. Real quick question. You kind of mentioned, I just want to get clarification. Is the splash pad going to utilize 100% fresh water? Or is it going to be recycled?
I believe it's going to utilize, I think it uses like a system to clean the water, almost like similar to a pool system to filter it. So I don't think it's constantly using fresh water and just draining everywhere. However, there is the production of having to add in quite a bit of water as it goes. There will be drains and such in that splash pad to collect the water, clean the water, and recirculate. But there will obviously be the addition of additional water, just because being a splash pad, there's loss of water with kids running around in it and evaporation and such.
So as part of the bathhouse structure, there's also going to be a chlorination building or pump house in there that's going to be integrated into the construction?
I believe so. I don't have the exact design of all of the mechanicals for it. I don't know that they've actually gotten that far in depth, but I'm going to assume that that's going to be inside of that building. Most of the stuff they need to keep locked up and out of harm's way. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Caleb. Any other questions from commission members? I don't see any. Rob, is this ready for action?
Yeah, Jim, engineering, Jim Grappone. Do you have any concerns on this?
No, I heard Brian mention that he has no issues with the engineering comments. I was trying to call him up, actually. I seem to recall that there was nothing major. They're going to have to get DEP requirements for the discharge for backwash, and anything related to the pool discharge. So I have no problem with if the commission chooses to approve it subject to engineering comments.
Sounds like a good plan, Jim. Okay, so with that, Rob, are we ready for action on this?
Yeah, I have nothing further, so it's ready for action with Mr. Grappone's suggestion.
Okay. Let's see where we go now. Let's get a motion.
Commissioner Chairman, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Stout can make a motion to approve SPR 1798, subject to the planning approval.
we're looking for, Bob, is subject to working through any issues with the engineering department. Is that accurate? So can you okay with that, Bob Solka?
Fine.
Okay, can we get a second?
This is Commissioner Santego. I'll second it.
We have a second. Any further comments from any member of the commission? Seeing none, Rob, you want to call the roll, please?
Sure. Commissioner Bork,
Work, yes.
Commissioner Locks,
Relax, yes.
Commissioner Macchio,
Macchio, yes.
Commissioner Volpe, yes.
Commissioner Santego,
Santego, yes.
Commissioner Salka,
Commissioner Selka, yes.
Chairman Hammersley.
Hammersley's a yes. Motion carries 7-0. On to item G, Keystone Novelty Site Plan Modification Application for a 20 by 40 foot tent for sale of fireworks, property located at 235 Queen Street in a B zone, parcel size 16.04 acres, SPR number 1799. Who do we have here for this?
Keith Lambert from Keystone Novelties.
Hi, Keith. How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. Show us what you got.
I don't know how to like share my screen if that's what you're asking me to do.
Well, we have the stuff on the stuff in our drive. Yeah, Rob Phillips.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up here. I'm just looking for.
So Keith, while he's doing that, why don't you just talk to us about what your plan is here?
Okay, so yeah, so what we're looking to do is we're looking to set up a 20-foot by 40-foot tent on the property. As you can see here on the map, pretty much that's all we really need to kind of look at. And there's going to be a generator that's going to be at least 20 foot from the tent. The porta potty will be on the opposite side of the parking lot, and we will abide by all the fire marshal regulations, and I'll have the no smoking signs and the exit lights for when guests come in, and no smoking signs as well.
Okay. And this is the Walmart property, correct?
No, I don't believe so. Walmart property?
Rob, is this a property that Walmart sits on?
Yeah, they're in the back. Yes, up front is the Southington. Was it the liquor store?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was in the back. I just kind of saw the front.
No problem, Keith. Can I just ask a question about your security, and what are the operating hours on this, and what is your security system for making sure that the product is locked down and not accessible while you're not there?
Right. So basically, we're open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. Just the third and the fourth, we're open till 10 p.m. And then after we close at night, the sidewalls will come down on the tent, and we will have basically someone there 24 hours a day, watching to make sure everything's secure.
Making sure no one's breaking into that. And what are the dates that you're going to be operating, Keith?
The 23rd, the 23rd to July 5th. So I think it's like next Tuesday through July 5th.
Okay. Are there any plans for any temporary signage to be put up out there, or is it just?
The only signs that we have will be attached, affixed to the tent. So they'll be on the tent. There'll be one that says open. There'll be one that says Keystone Fireworks, and then there'll be one on either side of the tent that says buy one get one free.
What's the size
Their
of
banners affixed? They're affixed to the tent. They're like on the tent.
Okay. Are there any of those flag type of signs that sometimes appear out in front of something like this?
We don't use those.
You don't use those. Okay. Is there any other questions from members of the committee?
This is Commissioner Albanese, alternate Commissioner Albanese. I do have one question. Is there a requirement to get some sort of permit or license from the state fire marshal?
There is not.
Agency? No.
Not in Connecticut. We do have to get a permit through the fire marshal's office within Southington. They come out and inspect the operation and make sure like the flame retardant on the tent material, and they'll check to make sure the fire extinguishers are, the tags are current. They'll do all the fire safety. The NFPA 1124 fire safety inspection.
Okay, thank you. And also Commissioner Albanese again. So you said that there's going to be security 24/7. That's something that's going to be happening. There's not going to be removal of the materials each day and stored somewhere else in a safe location.
No, typically the way that we operate is that we have someone stay on site and watch the tent. Once it's closed and shut down and latched up, there'll be someone there 24 hours watching the tent. That's typically how we do it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Teresa. Any other questions from a member of the commission?
Yes, this is Commissioner Volpe.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Volpe here. I do appreciate that you did include, hi, how are you? Thank you for coming. I do appreciate that you have some guidelines here regarding COVID-19 procedures. I do see that there is a note about one-way customer traffic included with some arrows that you provided us on your plan. Are those going to be marked on the ground, or is it just one sign at the entrance about social distancing? I just, I myself sometimes still mess up at the grocery store, and for the benefit of everyone, which I'm sure will be excited, this is a wonderful thing, especially right now, it's much needed, but I just want to ensure that there is some signage that keeps people flowing in the right direction, especially if children are attending with their parents to this tent.
We will have signage throughout the tent. We also will have cones that will kind of indicate that keep people 6 feet apart, and also the manager is going to be trained to watch for that, to make sure we keep people socially distant. We have a whole training program for that. I see it was attached.
Sorry, I lost you a little towards the end there. There's some feedback.
Sure, no problem. I said, as you can see, the social distancing COVID-19 program is attached within the application.
I see that. Yeah, my question was pertaining to like any kind of ground signage. Specifically, it says there is one, sign at the main entrance, and it shows you a one-way circular pattern around the tent, finishing at the checkout counter. But is there like going, and I know, I'm sorry if it's too specific, I really do apologize, but as a mom of a kid who loves fireworks, I'm just wondering, like, is there going to be some sort of like floor pattern, limit? And I know someone being capacity to what you provided, but what exactly is in place to show people the direction? The cones?
The cones will be to keep people, that's kind of like the person in front of you, you look at this section and then you'll move to the next section and then you'll move to the next section, and we'll just keep the flow going. But it's obviously up to the manager to watch how people are coming through. And there will be some signs up with arrows pointing so that it keeps people, facing in the correct direction, moving in the correct direction. Doesn't mean someone's not going to try to go in the other entrance, but obviously with our manager there, we'll correct them.
Commissioner Volpe again. Thank you, Mr. Lambert. I appreciate it. Sometimes I get my directions mixed up as well, so I appreciate that.
I understand. Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. Any further comments? Peter Santiago, go ahead.
Yeah. So I guess my first question is to Rob. Rob, why is this coming to us?
Well, because it's basically an annual thing, and it's a temporary type of situation where, we normally, I know in light of the coronavirus and temporary outdoor dining and the tents and everything, that's been a different animal. But we've traditionally, when we have a situation with a tent going up for at least a month or so, we've traditionally had a temporary approval. And we could talk about the policy change if we wanted to do it just from a zoning permit standpoint. Certainly we could have that conversation, but we're just going on past history here.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, I see site plans like a temporary tent coming to us for a site plan doesn't seem like a traditional plan type thing versus a permit. So maybe that's worthy of, not at this point, but of discussion procedurally about why we're getting it. So that was my first thing. And I guess so thank you for that. I guess my other, if I had a concern, is traffic. tough getting out of it. It's not tough getting in there if you go to the liquor store. Not that I've been there a lot, but that's the one I go to. I probably have a frequent flyer there, but it's getting out of there and going left. So getting out of there and going left is tough anyway. So I just want to be sure that what you have there does not impede the liquor store business that's there, and that we don't create traffic pattern issues because of where you are and where people are parking. So do you fear you're going to have that issue, and are you going to have designated just for you versus the liquor store and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the map, the way that where our tent is positioned, there's a huge buffer between there and the main road. So when people actually pull out, like, they're going to be at least 60 feet past our tent before they even get to the road. I don't think it's going to be.
You come out of there. You're coming out of there. You have to go past the liquor store to get to you, because that's part of the parking lot that is. So you don't get from the street. You get there from the liquor store parking lot, and you come out of there via the same exit egress.
Okay.
Right? So my concern is the parking, and do you anticipate a lot of traffic and causing an issue? I don't want to have an undue issue there that's tough to get in and out of anyway.
No, I understand. Well, this is what I can tell you, that we do 80% of our business on July 3rd, 4th, mostly on the 4th of July. I'm not sure if the liquor store is open on July 4th. Most businesses aren't. Maybe they are, but that's our busiest time. So if there would be any issue, it would be on that day, which most businesses are closed.
Okay, so just bear that in mind if you have people there, if you need to think about parking or whatever it is, because during that July 4th weekend, people go to the liquor store, and so
they do. Right.
So
no,
it's just, you don't want to create a problem where an additional problem. That's all.
I mean, we're mindful of that. We teach our managers to make sure that if they see there being some form of an issue that's building up, to let the route manager know who's in charge of several locations, and then it will be addressed. But I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. We do about 500 tents every year. I don't foresee the site being an issue. We have other sites that are much tighter, and we don't have issues there. So I don't foresee there being an issue.
All right, great. Thank you for answering that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Any other questions from commission members? Seeing none. Rob, this ready?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Can we get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Salka make a motion to approve SPR 1799 as submitted, to include the location of the sign as outlined by the applicant.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Salka. Or second?
Macchio, second.
Thanks, Jim. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Rob, you want to call the roll on this?
Commissioner Gort?
Commissioner Gwark, yes.
Commissioner Lotz, yes.
Macchio, yes.
Commissioner Volpe?
Commissioner Volpe, yes.
Santiago?
Santiago, yes.
Commissioner Salka?
Commissioner Salka, yes.
Chairman Hammersley?
Hammersley is a yes. Motion passes 7-0. Item K, release of an $8,500 bond in lieu of a site plan compliant 72 Industrial Drive SPR number 1765. Rob, is this ready for action?
Yes, it is.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Salka make a motion to approve SPR 1765.
Commissioner Salka make a motion. Second.
Macchio, second.
Okay, we'll go with Jim. I heard you, Sue. Any further discussion on this? We could do a voice vote on this, Rob?
Correct.
Okay, all those in favor, please so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Item L, release of $11,500 E&S bond at 72 Industrial Drive SPR number 1765. Rob, you ready for action?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, or can we get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Salk, make a motion to approve SPR 1765.
Thanks, Commissioner Salka. Second.
Santiago, I'll second.
Thanks, Peter. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Item 9, administrative items. Rob, is there anything there?
No, we have nothing there.
Okay, we're probably looking at not getting back together in person until after the summer, so September. And just a reminder to commission members, we flip into summer mode after this, which means that we meet only once a month. Our next meeting is scheduled for July 21st. And I think in August, we schedule for one meeting and then we pick it up again back in September. Correct, Rob?
Yes, that's correct. And we are absolutely, per order of the town manager, going to continue these digital meetings through August.
Okay. So we're looking at least 2 more meetings, like, just so everybody knows and can plan accordingly.
The good thing is you'll see that there's no new applications at this point in time. Doesn't mean there won't be, but certainly we're set up for not a heck of a lot of activity heading through the summer.
Yeah, so we have one item 10, an item for public hearing. Everybody could see that. Anything to add to that, Rob? Or
no, it's just under the existing regulations because it has public sewer and public water. I have more comments. Obviously, we'll wait till we get to the public.
Item number 11, I think you already talked about. We really haven't seen many more new applications. I think on the July 21st, we'll revisit the Briarwood College situation. That's scheduled to be back on a public hearing.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Assuming they don't withdraw it, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Is there any other comments from commission members? I want to wish you all a happy summer. Thank you for bearing with us as we go through this unique environment, and we've done another meeting, so everyone did a good job. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Santiago with a motion to adjourn. Second.
Macchio, second.
Macchio, there we go. All those in favor, aye.
Thank you very much. Great job.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Sorry if I muted you too much, Peter Santiago. You were coming in with a lot of feedback, so I had to keep muting you. So my apologies.
Story of my life, man.
I don't want you buying fireworks and booze at the same time.
Read my mind, baby.
Have a great 4th of July, everybody.
See you, everybody.
Everybody.